speakers. Okay, so we have 240 minutes for this session, and if we divide it into 4 speakers, that will be, each speaker will have 60 minutes. But unfortunately, we also will have a question and answer session. So I just take maybe around each 20 minutes. So I hope each speaker will give the presentation around 40 minutes, and we will have the question and answer session in the end of the session. So I hope that nobody will ask in the first speakers, so it will take more time and only leave a small number of minutes only for the third and the last speaker. So we will have the question and answer session in the end of the session. Okay, for the first, I will invite Bakhtiar Alam Sensei. Actually, Bakhtiar Alam Sensei is my academic advisor when I was in the undergraduate session.
That was a long time ago, huh?
Almost 20 years ago.
20 years ago, yeah. You still remember. Okay, good, Bangkit. Andi Bangkit. Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Andi Bangkit. Yeah. Jadi, just a few disclaimers at the beginning. I think my presentation will be like only half an hour, 30 minutes. That would be more than enough. And one kind of interesting question is among the audience today, is there anyone who doesn't understand Bahasa Indonesia? Because if everyone understands Bahasa Indonesia, I'd rather speak in Bahasa Indonesia, Indonesian language, because part of my slides are also written in Indonesian language. So is there anyone who doesn't understand Bahasa Indonesia at this session?
I've already checked the attendance today. Actually, for the session all Indonesian.
Ya, kalau begitu kita bicara dalam bahasa Indonesia aja ya. Dan sebagainya selanjutnya juga saya.
Silakan.
Ya,
silakan Pak.
Thank you Pak. Nah, sekarang kalau begitu saya minta izin share. Ya. Minta izin share. Nah ini. Jadi presentasi saya hari ini, kalau dalam bahasa Inggris, berjudul Challenges to Gender Equality in Japan, Some Preliminary Analysis from Sociological Perspectives. Ya. Ini sedikit aja nih gambar awalnya. Ini posternya ada yang bisa baca nggak nih? Yang ibu ini atau perempuan ini membawa di kedua tangannya, Shukatsu Sexism. Shukatsu itu apa? Itu job interviews. Job interviews atau inilah job searching. Sexism, diskriminasi berdasarkan seks pada waktu interview, job interview. Ini kalau agak saya lihat ya, perempuan harus duduknya dengan kaki yang rapih, kedua kakinya tertutup rapih, cowok di foto poster ini agak terbuka, tangannya juga ini agak terbuka, perempuannya harus menyatukan kedua telapak tangan, dan itu dianggap sebagai suatu sikap feminin. Nah ini loh, sikap feminin yang dikonstruksi dalam atau konteks job interviews. Ya, ini sebagai awal, tanda-tanda awal. Ya, oke, saya mulai dengan ini deh, population decline. Semua bisa lihat ya, garis biru dan garis merah. Ini dua negara yang mempunyai masalah-masalah kesetaraan gender yang sangat mirip nih. Ya. Dan akibatnya apa? Jumlah anak yang lahir atau jumlah pertumbuhan populasi menurun terus. Ya. Jepang udah 2005 udah di bawah 0, artinya di bawah replacement level. Ya, jadi udah declining tuh populasinya. Kalau Korea, South Korea, Korea Selatan, itu tahun 2020 udah masuk di bawah 0. Pertumbuhan minus dari penduduk. Ya. Dan ada beberapa tulisan yang menyatakan bahwa ini berkaitan dengan banyak hal, antara lain tingginya biaya sekolah, ya, tingginya mempunyai anak, dan sebagainya. Tapi ada juga artikel jurnal yang mengatakan ini juga berkaitan dengan gender equality. Kenapa gender equality? Karena yang pembagian kerja tradisional di Jepang, man as a breadwinner, cari penghasilan suaminya, women as a home carer. Jadi perempuan harus di rumah setelah punya anak. Mungkin sebagian perempuan merasa kalau begitu mendingan nggak usah punya anak. Ya. Nah, secara umum birth rate yang di bawah 2.0 itu adalah sudah di bawah replacement level. Ya. Jadi di bawah 2, di sini angka yang dipakai, indikator yang dipakai adalah TFR, total fertility rate, artinya seorang perempuan, rata-rata seorang perempuan di satu negara, dalam hal ini Jepang, dimulai dari mulainya menstruasi sampai menopause, itu artinya tahun-tahun dia produktif dalam arti reproduksi, berapa rata-rata anak yang dia bisa lahirkan. Nah, kalau rata-rata anak selama masa produktif itu sudah di bawah 2, populasi akan menurun. Ya. Nah, ini Jepang udah menurun sejak tahun 70-an, terus menurun. Ya. Oke. Dan historical yang lebih panjang, sekarang fertility rate di Jepang 1,368 tahun 2020. Ya. Oke. Selanjutnya kita maju. Nah, tampak pada grafik tadi, TFR Jepang menurun drastis dari sekitar 3,65 di 1950 menjadi 2 di 1960, 1,75 di 1980, dan seterusnya 1,34 2020. TFR 1,2 jauh di bawah replacement level. Ya. Sebagai bandingan, 2020 TFR Indonesia itu berapa? 2,27. Jelas nih, masih bertambah. Sedangkan TFR Amerika 1,64. Ya, sudah mulai menurun, ya. Tetapi masih tinggi daripada Jepang, karena di situ juga banyak warga-warga migran ya yang mempunyai behavior yang berbeda, banyak anak dibandingkan warga kulit putih. Dan menurutnya TFR Jepang sejalan dengan tren demografis negara-negara industri maju di Amerika Utara, Eropa Barat, serta Korsel dan Singapura di Asia. Tetapi penurunan TFR Jepang cukup drastis di antara negara-negara industri maju, dan hal ini diperkirakan, nah ini diperkirakan ya, berkaitan dengan ketidaksetaraan gender yang mengakibatkan semakin banyak wanita yang tidak mau menikah dan atau mempunyai anak. Ya ini logikanya lah, ya reasoningnya sosiologis seperti itu, makanya jumlah anak menurun, jumlah populasi menurun. Kalau dilihat nih 2011 nih, yang biru itu gender equality-nya tinggi, ya, yang makin merah tua itu gender equality-nya rendah. Di tengah-tengah, oranye, kuning, itu agak rendah. Nah, coba lihat deh. Yang biru itu di mana? Amerika Utara. Ya, Argentina dan Amerika Selatan tuh, termasuk yang tinggi. Di Asia Tenggara tuh ada yang tinggi loh. Filipina nih. Ya, banyak LSM yang aktif dalam masalah gender. Nah, bandingkan Jepang dan Indonesia. Dua-duanya oranye. Ya, termasuk rendah gender equality. Nanti indikatornya saya bicarakan di slide. Ya, yang paling rendah di mana adanya? Afrika Utara, negara Timur Tengah, yang merah jingga, merah tua tuh. Ya, oke. Nah, sekarang kita lihat kalau tahun 2015 hampir sama sih, ya. Gender equality yang paling tinggi Kanada, Norway, Kroasia, ya, hampir semua negara Eropa. Satu negara Asia Tenggara nyempil, Singapura tuh, negara kecil, tapi dia tinggi gender equality-nya, ya. Sedangkan Indonesia dan Jepang sekali lagi di sini warnanya hampir sama, biru muda, ya, udah mulai membaik, tapi masih rendah, ya, nggak seperti biru tua nih yang paling tinggi gender equality-nya, dan yang merah gender equality-nya paling rendah. Baca aja negara di situ, negara-negara Afrika, ya, Central African Republic, Afghanistan dan sebagainya, negara-negara gender equality-nya sangat rendah. Nah, skor secara gender diukur dari beberapa indikator. 1, kesetaraan pria dan wanita dalam partisipasi kerja, tingkat pendidikan. partisipasi politik, tingkat kesehatan. Ya, layanan kesehatan untuk laki dan perempuan itu kan beda kebutuhannya. Itu bisa dilayani sama kualitasnya nggak? Secara umum kesetaraan gender berkorelasi positif dengan tingkat ekonomi suatu negara. Jadi semakin kaya suatu negara, GDP per kapitanya semakin besar, maka seharusnya kesetaraan gender makin tinggi. Di sini Jepang jelas merupakan pengecualian, karena meskipun tingkat ekonominya tinggi, skor kesetaraan gendernya rendah, anomali. Ya. Ketidaksetaraan gender di Jepang terwujud dalam banyak aspek kehidupan. Satu, terputusnya jalur karier bagi banyak wanita Jepang yang sudah menikah karena adanya tekanan sosial untuk berhenti bekerja selama beberapa tahun setelah melahirkan untuk mengasuh anak. Ini di kuliah di Jepang pasti semua sudah mendengar. Jadi pekerja perempuan kalau kawin, dia berhenti untuk menjadi pengasuh anak. Dia sendiri mengasuh anak, jadi nggak ada pembantu karena terlalu mahal. Ya, nah yang berkorban siapa? Perempuan yang berkorban kariernya. Sehingga terjadi grafik yang namanya M-shaped curve. Jadi kalau partisipasi perempuan digambarkan dari umur 15-an sampai umur 70-an, ya, sampai 25 naik partisipasinya, begitu 28 turun, sampai 35 naik lagi. Kenapa? 35 anaknya sudah besar, bisa ditinggalkan. Dari melahirkan sampai anak sudah bisa sekolah, perempuan berkorban. Jadi kariernya terhenti. Itu apa? Antara lain karena kurangnya daycare centers. Kenapa itu terjadi juga kan hal seperti itu di negara Skandinavia misalnya. Tapi mereka punya daycare centers. Dan anak-anak bisa titip. Jadi ibu dan bapaknya dua-duanya bisa kerja dan tidak terhenti kariernya. Kira-kira begitu argumennya. Ya, oke. Terus, nah ini contoh dari M-shape grafik ya, graf. Males tahun 98 dan 2008 hampir sama, U balik. Ini bentuk U balik nih yang ideal nih, ya. Nah, perempuan Jepang dari 98 sampai 2008 ada kemajuan dikit lah, ya. Kemajuan dikit naik kan sini ya. Jadi M-nya sudutnya agak berkurang, tapi masih tetap ada penurunan. Ya. Nah, ini bentuk dari ketidakadilan gender, ya. Oke, lanjutin lagi. Nah, ini yang terbaru nih, tahun 2015, dan ini dari website pemerintah Jepang, karena pemerintah Jepang juga sadar banget ini. Gimana ini bisa, AB juga, ya, Womenomics, ekonomi kaum perempuan, dia mau memperbaiki. Nah, ini coba lihat, dari 75, 85, 95, 2011, 2012, naik kan? Antara umur 25 dan 30, lihat aja yang dari sini, di bawah, mulai landai loh. Ya, jadi ada kemajuan sih. Tapi kalau dibandingkan pria, masih ada penurunan. Nah, ini yang masih menjadi tantangan. Ya, makanya bagi presentasi ini judulnya, saya fokus ke tantangan ya. Oke. Dibandingkan negara lain, coba. Yang kiri negara Asia, yang kanan negara-negara Eropa. Ya. Ini datanya agak lama sih, tahun 90-an, tapi ya ada yang sebagian awal 2000-an ya. Cuma kira-kira kita dapat polanya lah ya. Coba lihat deh. Kalau negara Asia nih, Cina ini bekas negara komunis nih, ada pengaruhnya. Jadi bentuknya udah langsung huruf U terbalik. Ya, sedangkan ini Italia, Belanda, Perancis, Sweden, Ceko nih yang digambar. Hampir semuanya U terbalik. Ya kan? Nah, ini Korea. Korea lihat nih, kejadian lagi huruf M-nya. Malaysia yang sangat dekat dengan Indonesia. Ini bukan M, tapi segitiga nih. Jadi dari sini dia banyak partisipasi, umur 20-an awal, makin lama makin turun, dan nggak balik lagi dia. Ya, jadi setelah kawin, punya anak, nggak balik lagi. India, U terbalik, tapi rendah. Ini juga jelek banget. Nah, kemudian Pakistan, yang menyedihkan. Rata di bawah, gitu. Partisipasi perempuannya apakah begitu rendah? Untuk semua kelompok usia, gitu. Ya. Nah, ini tantangan-tantangan kesetaraan gender yang dihadapi Jepang maupun negara Asia lainnya. Nah, ini saya lewati secara ini aja, ringkas saja ya. Feminisme itu adalah suatu gerakan pemikiran untuk mencapai kesetaraan gender, membongkar, mengekspos ketidaksetaraan yang ada di masyarakat, dan mencapai kesetaraan gender khususnya bagi perempuan. Ya, kira-kira begitu definisi feminisme. Feminisme ada feminisme liberal, feminisme radikal, feminisme Marxis, dan sebagainya. Nah, ini salah satu ya, misalnya Ueno Shizuko, seorang feminis, seorang social scientist terkenal dari Jepang, di bukunya, dia mengatakan pembagian kerja di rumah tangga di Jepang sangat tidak setara, sangat tidak adil, karena semua pekerjaan rumah tangga dilakukan istri, tanpa diberi upah. Nah, ini kalau dari segi kapitalisme, ya, ataupun dari sudut pandangan Marxis, ini adalah buruh yang tidak diberi upah. Nah, merupakan salah satu eksploitasi dalam sistem kapitalisme. Itu menurut dia. Ya. Nah, makanya terjadi grafik M yang tadi diperlihatkan. Ya. Nah, menurut Ueno, penulis, perempuan-perempuan Jepang yang mengurus rumah tangga tanpa diberi upah menjadi salah satu kelas tersendiri yang dieksploitasi oleh para kapitalis. Ya, jadi untuk menunjang ekonomi Jepang yang begitu besar, nomor 3 di dunia, ini bisa dikatakan perempuan berkorban. Oke. Oke, ini saya lihatin aja ya. Bentuk, ini aja deh, mungkin kebudayaan ya. Dengan kata lain, bentuk eksploitasi ini disebabkan oleh kebudayaan yang menurut teori Marx masuk dalam struktur atas. Kebudayaan, gimana kebudayaan? Kebudayaannya, yaitu misalnya Konfusianisme, misalnya pemikiran keluarga tradisional Jepang, apa? Perempuan melahirkan, mengasuh anak. Laki-laki cari kerja, bekerja di luar, mencari upah. Nah, inilah pembagian kerja yang konservatif, tradisional, ini dieksploitasi. Ya. Oke, nah ini saya masuk ke tahap berikut ini, bagian berikutnya dari presentasi saya. Ini saya ingin sampaikan kepada ini ya, teman-teman yang hadir di webinar ini. Memang kesetaraan gender di Jepang tuh banyak masalah. Cuma jangan salah paham ya. Jangan diartikan seakan-akan tidak ada perempuan-perempuan yang berjuang. Nah, ini yang saya ingin benar-benar saya garis bawahi, dan mereka harus jadi pendekatannya nggak bisa makro aja, mikro, perorangan dong, lihat individual. Perempuan-perempuan yang hebat, yang mau melawan patriarki, mau melawan kekerasan seksual. Contoh ini satu kasus yang gempar, ya, tahun 2015, seorang jurnalis TV, Shiori Ito namanya, mengalami kekerasan seksual yang dilakukan oleh seorang jurnalis senior pria. Kasus ini diajukan ke proses hukum, pertama dengan tuduhan pidana pemerkosaan, tapi kandas Juli 2016. Jadi ini juga nih, di mana-mana pemerkosaan harus ada saksi, bukti lebih dari 2, paling minimal 2, dalam ruang tertutup di hotel, ya sulit banget dong ya. Nah, dia apa namanya, menurut berita-berita yang beredar, dia dikasih obat tidur di dalam minuman yang beralkohol, dan dia udah nggak sadar diri, dibawa ke kamar, dan di situ terjadi pemerkosaan. Hal itu tidak bisa dibuktikan beyond reasonable doubt dalam sistem peradilan pidana Jepang. Kandas 2016. Tapi dia nggak mau kalah, dia lanjutkan ke perdata. Perdata apa? Minta ganti kerugian dong. Suatu perbuatan yang melecehkan perempuan. Dan dia menang di situ. Pengadilan Negeri Tokyo, Desember 2019. Menang lagi di Pengadilan Tinggi Tokyo. Naik lagi ke atas, ke Mahkamah Agung. Akhirnya tahun lalu, Juli 2022, dia mendapat kemenangan final, ingkrah. Bahwa dia memang menderita kekerasan seksual, dan pelakunya harus membayar ganti kerugian. Berapa juta yen ya, nggak besar. Tapi maknanya, signifikansinya dalam sistem peradilan Jepang ini sangat berarti. Jadi gempar, oh iya ya, kalau gitu perempuan yang dilecehkan bisa membuktikan loh. Jadi untuk cowok-cowok juga, pria-pria yang berkuasa mempunyai power, ini juga menjadi peringatan, nggak bisa sembarangan. Ya, mereka juga bisa dibawa ke pengadilan. Ya, oke. Berikutnya, ini Osakabe Sayaka, ya. Dia juga aktivis kesetaraan gender. Kasusnya apa? Kasusnya namanya matahara, maternity harassment. Pelecehan perempuan-perempuan yang hamil di tempat kerja. Ya. Nah, pelecehan ini apa? Ini pelecehan ini bukan pelecehan dalam arti pelecehan seksual, ya. bukan itu sebetulnya. Itu pun ada, tapi bukan itu. Poinnya di sini adalah di perusahaan-perusahaan Jepang mempunyai norma target kerja yang sangat ketat. Ya, bulan ini tim kita harus mencapai sales sekian. Nah, kalau di tim itu ada yang hamil gimana tuh? Anda bayangkan, bayangin deh. Kalau yang hamil, nah pekerja-pekerja yang sangat agresif dan dengan segala semangat mengejar target, mereka merasa, ya kamu gimana sih, kita kan lagi ngejar target, kok kamu hamil sih berani-beraninya? Minta cuti lagi. Tim kita kalah dong. Dapat ujaran kebencian, dapat kata-kata yang menyakitkan. Yang terjadi apa? Ya keguguran lah. Luar biasa kan, tragis nih. Nah ini perempuan yang berdiri, dia sendiri mengalami 2 kali keguguran dalam konteks Matahara itu. Jadi dia mendirikan LSM namanya Matahara Net Support Group. Nah, sejak adanya grup ini, dia bilang siapapun perempuan yang merasa mengalami tekanan selama hamil di perusahaan, di tempat kerja, silakan lapor dan kita akan bawa ke pengadilan. Dan dia bawa betul tuh dari perempuan di prefecture Hiroshima yang mengalami hal itu, dia bawa ke pengadilan Mahkamah Agung dan menang. Nah ini lagi, sekarang semua perusahaan juga bikin guideline nih, jangan sampai perempuan yang hamil ditekan atau disakiti. Ini bisa dibawa ke pengadilan, sudah ada presiden. Nah ini satu hasil perjuangan dari perempuan bernama Osaka B. Dan dia malah mendapat penghargaan dari Kemlu Amerika loh, dari State Department di Amerika ya, tahun 2015 ketemu. Dia diterima oleh Obama dan istrinya Michelle. Oke. Nah, jadi dalam ketidaksetaraan gender di Jepang terjadi demo-demo. Ya. Tadi ini apa nih? Bisa baca nggak nih? Fukushi ni zeikin mawase. Hoikuen ochita no watashi da. Yang sebelah kanan deh. Hoikuen ochita no watashi da. Ini apa nih? Ini saya tidak terima, anak saya tidak diterima dalam daycare center. Jadi daycare center itu ada. Itu kan tadi penyebabnya. Kenapa ibu yang harus berhenti kerja? Kurangnya daycare center dong. Bikin yang lebih banyak pemerintah. Tapi masih juga kurang. Ada kayak undian gitu. Nah ini perempuan ini, saya di undiannya saya nggak diterima nih, apes nih, gimana dong? Apa saya harus berhenti lagi kerja? Jadi saya ketinggalan lagi, karirnya kandas, terjadi lagi ketidaksetaraan gender. Dan dia bilang, Fukushi Zeki mau saya tambahin dong anggaran pemerintah untuk itu. Ya, cuma memang kalau dilihat suasana demonya ya cukup santun ya, jadi ketawa, senyum. Ini termasuk yang kebudayaan Jepang juga, bahwa dia sebetulnya dalam hati juga agak jengkel juga, tapi penampilannya masih santun. Kedua, protes movement, gerakan protes yang muncul kedua adalah Me Too movement. Nah ini Anda tahu kan, perempuan-perempuan yang menjadi sasaran, korban, atau lebih tepatnya penyintas kekerasan seksual, itu semuanya buka. Me Too. Ya kan itu dimulai kan dari Amerika. Jadi Jepang juga tersebar nih, keluar. Siapapun perempuan yang dilecehkan, menjadi sasaran kekerasan seksual, harus buka. Dan semua perempuan harus mendukung, perempuan dan laki sama ya, mendukung. Jangan sampai dia di stigma. Ya. Jangan dibilang, oh dia sih pakaiannya kurang sopan, makanya jadi ini nih. Itulah apa namanya, pandangan patriarki yang paling nggak masuk akal kan. Nggak bisa terima dalam gender equality seperti itu. Bagaimanapun penampilan si perempuan, kalau sampai terjadi kekerasan seksual, yang salah adalah pelakunya. Ya, si pelakunya harus dihukum. Dan ini berlaku bukan hanya itu gender perempuan, semua gender. Ya, gender identity bisa laki, perempuan, nggak binary ya, bisa berbagai macam. Nah itu semua. Kemudian, nah ini lanjutan dari Me Too movement di Jepang. Semua perempuan bisa dilihat dari generasi ya, generasi yang muda sampai generasi tua, semua bisa berdiri dan ikut membantu, mendukung. Dan kata-kata yang khas di Jepang tuh yang merah tuh, with you, I'm with you. ya. Itu jadi saya juga sama Anda, saya akan maju bersama Anda, saya akan melindungi Anda, kayak gitu. Itu cukup ini ya. Jadi nggak terlalu, bukan hanya konfrontasi aja, tapi juga memberi ini, ngayemin ya. Kalau Ganjar Pranowo bilang ngayomin dan ngayemin tuh, ya. Jadi ikut merangkul teman-teman penyintas with you. Itu ciri khas dari Jepang juga. Oke, nah banding ini sedikit ya. Terjadi demo-demo bertemakan gender di Indonesia tuh kapan? Masih ingat nggak tuh? Ini 2011. Undang-undang pornografi, ya, undang-undang anti pornografi, dan beberapa peraturan daerah yang melarang misalnya perempuan keluar sendiri tanpa ditemani oleh muhrimnya atau suaminya atau keluarganya setelah jam sekian. Nah, itu kan gempar tuh, cabut dan tolak peraturan daerah yang diskriminasi terhadap perempuan. Nah ini juga, di harinya saya sedikit banget bicara soal Indonesia, ini panjang banget kalau mau dibicarakan. Ya. Kemudian, nah ini undang-undang anti pornografi ya di HI ini yang menentang ya dibatasinya cara berpakaian perempuan, yaitu don't tell us how to dress, tell them not to rape. Bukan rok kami yang salah, tapi otak kalian yang mini, benar tuh. It's not our skirt that is short, it is your brain that is minuscule. Kecil banget nih otaknya nih. Nah ini dari apa namanya argumen dari kelompok ya dalam tanda kutip ya liberal, nggak bisa terima dong, hak perempuan ada hak sepanjang itu tidak mengganggu orang lain, ya cara berpakaian itu harus dihormati sepanjang dia tidak melanggar tata krama harus dihormati. Dan yang paling salah, oh karena bajunya begini sih dia jadi korban, sama sekali ngaco tuh argumen itu. Nah cuma ini dari peneliti luar negeri, ada artikel jurnal yang meneliti Rinaldo, peneliti Amerika. Waktu itu di Indonesia kaum perempuan itu terjadi polarisasi mengenai undang-undang pornografi. Polarisasi itu apa? Kelompok liberal dan konservatif. Dari kelompok konservatif malah mendukung. Ya harus berpakaian yang syar'i dong. Ya khilafah. Nah pornografi harus dibasmi. Dan mereka mendukung dan mengadakan demo juga. Bandingkan dengan yang tadi ya. Jadi ini dikeluarkan dalam sebuah tulisan Rachel Rinaldo, artikel yang sangat-sangat bagus. Muslim Women Moral Visions, Globalization and Gender Controversies in Indonesia. Ini ngomong-ngomong hari ini mahasiswa kuliah saya nih, globalisasi Jepang suruh masuk ke sesi ini. Kenapa? Karena ini globalisasi. Feminisme itu globalisasi. Kesetaraan gender itu juga satu proses globalisasi. Apakah itu dimulai di Eropa, di Amerika, atau di Jepang, di Cina, nggak peduli. Tapi itu konsep yang menyebar, mengglobal, bahwa gender itu harus setara. Nah, bagaimana setaranya? Itu perjuangannya setiap lokalitas ya, setiap masyarakat punya. Dan di situ terjadi negosiasi maupun friksi. Nah, itu prosesnya yang wajar lah. Nah, ini si Rachel Rinaldo menggambarkan bahwa pada undang-undang pornografi keluar terjadi polarisasi. Jadi poin yang sangat penting di sini, gerakan perempuan itu tidak monolitik. Isinya itu ada berbagai macam. Di Jepang pun demikian. Ya, jadi nggak sama. Semua perempuan menuntut kesetaraan, tapi bisa beda di dalamnya. Ya, bentuk kesetaraan itu bisa beda, dan itu harus diselesaikan secara demokratis dan melalui dialog. Ya, seperti itu kira-kira pada abad 21 ini. Oke, saya lanjutin. Sikap pemerintah, ya, atau lembaga-lembaga publik lah. Ini adalah poster dari Departemen Tenaga Kerja Jepang. Jepang sejak 90-an sudah ada undang-undang equal job opportunity law, koyo kintoho. Ya, jadi laki dan perempuan tidak boleh diskriminasi, tapi terjadi matahara kan. Nah ini matahara nih. Jadi posternya stop matahara. Dan Depnaker di Jepang turun tangan, bikin hotline. Kalau sampai ada yang mengalami matahara, hamil itu kan hak perempuan, hak semua manusia, ya. Dan pemerintah khususnya, tahu nggak? Pemerintah Jepang tuh udah nervous banget tuh. Jumlah penduduknya makin lama makin turun. Ini kelemahan ekonomi lama-lama nih. Apalagi ditambah dengan matahara. Makanya bikin poster seperti ini. Mereka ingin membantu. Kalau ada perempuan yang jadi korban, pemerintah harus turun tangan dan melakukan counseling, membantu datangi tempat kerjanya. Komnas Perempuan di Indonesia sebaliknya, ini November 2014, posternya nih sebagai contoh. Setiap 3 jam, 2 perempuan jadi korban kekerasan. Ini luar biasa kan? Ini Indonesia nih. Setiap 3 jam, 2 perempuan jadi babak belur. Dipukulin, diperkosa. Ya, data Komnas Perempuan 24 November 2014. Jadi apa? Di Jepang matahara, di Indonesia kekerasan seksual yang luar biasa. Jadi kita bisa lihat nih kalau kita bicara soal kesetaraan gender, omong kosong kalau kita nggak menutup mata hal-hal seperti ini. Dan ini sekali lagi memberi hikmah kepada kita, ya, memberi suatu pelajaran kepada kita bahwa masalah kesetaraan gender itu universal. Itu loh. Nggak ada satu negara pun ya yang tidak ada masalah kesetaraan gender. Semua ada. Bedanya adalah bentuk manifestasinya berbeda. Di Jepang bisa matahara, Indonesia nggak matahara. Karena dia banyak anak, banyak rezeki, nggak terlalu peduli. Oke, norma kerjanya juga nggak seketat Jepang. Oh bagus deh kamu, mudah-mudahan lancar ya kelahirannya. Nggak ada. Tapi di lain pihak, kekerasan terhadap perempuan. Setiap 3 jam 2 orang perempuan menjadi korban. Jadi apa nih? Sama dua-duanya juga, cuma wujudnya beda. Nah, yang terakhir nih. Ini satu buku yang menjadi bestseller di Jepang tahun 2022. Ya. Buku ini novel dari Korea, pengarang perempuan Korea Min Ji-hyung yang menulis. Ya. Judulnya dalam bahasa Jepang, Boku no Kurutta Femika no Jo. Bahasa Inggrisnya, My Crazy Feminist Girlfriend. Bahasa Koreanya, Naoi Michi Feministu Yosachingu. Terus saya baca aja sih, coba dari Google Translate. Saya juga nggak bisa baca huruf Hangulnya. Tapi kira-kira bisa ngerti. Naoi itu watashi no. Michin itu gila. Feministu itu feminis. Yosachingu, jelas itu girlfriend. Kanjinya aja udah bisa bayangin. Nah, jadi ini cerita pasangan muda cowok Korea dan pacarnya. 3 tahun yang lalu si cowok ini mau berangkat ke Amerika untuk belajar. Dan waktu itu si cewek ini waktu itu pacaran. Dan waktu itu ceweknya sangat feminin. Tapi akhirnya waktu cowoknya berangkat di airport, cewek ini nggak datang. Dia hanya menitipkan 1 surat, minta dibuka di airport. Dia buka surat itu, dan isinya, kita mendingan putus sekarang. Karena saya tidak kuat long distance relationship, LDR. Jadi saya pikir daripada menderita nanti, mendingan sekarang saya putuskan kamu. Itu aja. Cowoknya tuh panik, kaget, lari satu airport di Seoul ya, kayak di Narita tuh ya, gede. Dan dia kayak, tadi saya lihat deh tuh cewek harus, kayaknya ketemu udah boarding time, dia terpaksa dipanggil oleh ini pihak penerbang, kantor penerbangannya, masuk boarding, apa yang dia kerjain, ya jelas bisa dibayangkan untuk orang Korea dan orang Jepang dalam konteks itu, ya minum alkohol sebanyak-banyaknya, dan mabok waktu turut sampai di LA, dia udah mabok, dan masuk ke kamar, hotel juga dia minum lagi, mabok lagi sampai besok pagi, baru dia sadar bahwa dia sudah kehilangan pacarnya. Tapi itu berubah, sejak itu cowok itu berubah, si Kim Sun-jung ini. Sun-jung, tadinya dia udah serius banget pas cewek, dia berubah. ya udahlah kalau kayak gini saya nggak usah terlalu serius-serius amat sih. Dia juga orang cukup ganteng, cukup tinggi. Udahlah, bergaul aja gitu. Dan dia setahun di Amerika. Balik, sejak itu dia ini gonta-ganti girlfriend-nya. Artinya dia nggak terlalu komit lah, udah ganti-ganti dan enjoy aja. Dia juga middle class, ekonomi juga cukup, ajak makan, ngajak minum dan seterusnya. Dan 3 tahun terjadi pada suatu saat setelah dia pisah dengan salah satu girlfriend-nya, begitu lagi nunggu lampu merah, kota Seoul kan kayak Tokyo kan, lampu merah semua rapi, berhenti. Datang tuh satu cewek dengan topi hitam, jaket hitam. Cowoknya siapa sih nih? Udah duduk ini lagi mepetin lagi dari samping nih. Terus begitu lampu traffic light-nya berubah hijau, dia langsung lari, diikutin terus sampai dia masuk ke lantai 2 di sebuah restoran, udah mau masuk WC, dia balik saking takutnya, dia bilang, "Nanan desu ka?" gitu. Terjemahan bahasa Jepang ya, bahasa Korea saya nggak tahu. Baru si cewek itu buka topi baseballnya dan dia, "Kamu Kim Sun Jung kan? Masih ingat nggak?" Nah itu cewek yang 3 tahun yang lalu di airport ninggalin dia. Apa yang paling menonjol? Sebelum 3 tahun yang lalu, cewek ini sangat feminin dalam tanda kutip ya, feminin yang stereotype cowok nih, rambutnya panjang, pakai makeup, ya pakai baju yang dress, pakai rok dan sebagainya. Sekarang dia berubah jadi pakai topi dan jaket hitam. Apa yang terjadi pada dia? Nah ini, itu temanya. Dia sudah bermetamorfosa menjadi seorang feminis. Nah, ini orang Anda mungkin bisa jadi feminis itu gimana, Pak? Mahasiswa saya bertanya. Nah, di Korea ya, kalau di Korea tuh feminis itu ada kata yang agak merendahkan, namanya megaru. Ya, megaru itu apa? Feminis garis keras. Jadi situ ada kelompok perempuan-perempuan yang semuanya berpakaian seperti ini dan menjadi kelompok garis keras, dan dulu ada websitenya, sekarang udah ditutup, Megalian namanya. Oh itu kalau tulisan-tulisan yang masuk itu semua cacian makian terhadap laki. Dan ada cacian untuk laki, yaitu hannamu atau hannamucu itu apa? Han itu Korea, nam itu laki, cu itu apa? Kecoa. Jadi serangga, cowok-cowok yang sama sekali nggak ngerti gender equality, cowok-cowok yang masih male chauvinist pig, itu tuh kalau bahasa Inggris, yang selalu merendahkan perempuan. Itu penuh dengan, dan si ceweknya ini udah berubah seperti itu. Nah, novel ini menceritakan bagaimana dia mencoba pacaran kembali. Ya. Tapi akhirnya si cewek ini juga tetap nggak mau kawin, karena dia merasa kalau kawin, masuk jebakan Konfusianisme, jebakan patriarki, saya nggak bisa kawin. Dan akhirnya mereka putus. Nah itu ceritanya. Penutupnya menarik loh. Yang penerjemah bahasa Jepangnya, dia bilang, ini buku ini akan diterjemahkan ke dalam bahasa Indonesia dan bahasa Vietnam. Saya pengen lihat kalau dalam bahasa Indonesia gimana penerimanya. Di Jepang, perempuan Jepang atau feminis Jepang tidak seradikal di Korea. Mereka tidak bikin organisasi yang begitu militan, enggak. Tapi buku ini diterima dengan sangat luas. Ini tahu nggak, blurbs, di buku tuh di sampul belakang tuh ada komentar-komentar dari penulis yang udah baca. Ini komentar-komentar salah satu cewek, Harada Arisan. Deto ga saiyaku nana watashi ga kurutteru sei. Watashi wa watashi de nai hou ga ii no darou ka? Apa tuh artinya? Setiap pacaran, saya ini kayaknya mau marah aja. Setiap date ya, ngedate, maunya marah aja. Itu apa karena saya udah gila? Apakah saya harus menjadi orang lain? Itu Harada Arisan sebagai, kenapa begitu menderita cewek itu ditekan dalam masyarakat Korea dan Jepang. Nah, cowok yang baca ini, Takeda Sate penulis, dia apa komentarnya setelah baca buku ini? Reisei ni naru yo, to hanasu me ga oyogi makutteru. Mohaya sore wa shakai ga youyaku kawaru aizu no yona. Apa tuh artinya? Dia ngomong ke diri sendiri, tenang, tenang, chill out. Saking paniknya, kalau semua cewek jadi kayak gini, gimana ya gue bisa hidup? Chill out, tenang deh. Dan dia bilang, ini memang tanda bahwa masyarakat itu sudah mulai berubah. Nah, ini komentar-komentarnya di buku ini. Jadi Anda bisa bayangkan bagaimana feminisme yang militan radikal itu memberi dampak terhadap pembaca di Jepang, dan ini diterima secara luas. Oke, penutup. Kesimpulan saya ya dari pembahasan hari ini, masalah ketidaksetaraan gender di Indonesia banyak berkaitan dengan masalah hukum, mispersepsi ajaran agama ya. Tadi udah pembicaraan sebelumnya juga ada tuh ya. Jadi ajaran agama yang dipersepsikan secara sangat salah atau sangat konservatif sehingga perempuan seakan-akan diremehkan, itu belum tentu ajaran agama yang benar. Sehingga sasaran pegiat gender cukup jelas. Itu Indonesia tuh. Ya, ada perda yang melarang perempuan, itu sasarannya jelas. Sebaliknya, masalah ketidaksetaraan gender di Jepang tidak memiliki kendala-kendala hukum maupun agama yang jelas. Bisa bayangin nggak? Hukumnya adil, tertulis ya. Agama, loh mereka negara sekuler kan. Kesetaraan gender itu udah masuk Undang-Undang Dasar Jepang loh. Jadi itu kan Undang-Undang Jepang dibikin oleh Amerika zaman pendudukan oleh pemerintahan MacArthur. Dia bikin yang lebih menekankan kesetaraan gender daripada konstitusi Amerika. Sampai begitu. Ya. Dan agama tidak mempunyai arti penting dalam arti kesetaraan gender di Jepang. Kalau orang masih memakai peribahasa Konghucu bahwa perempuan bekerjanya di dapur, oh itu untuk orang Jepang zaman sekarang itu akan menjadi bahan tertawaan ya, yang luar biasa. Oh itu gila, masih ada orang sih yang mikir ke abad ke-17 perempuan di dapur, laki bekerja di luar. Oh itu udah hampir big no-no, itu udah nggak jadi isu lagi. Walaupun demikian, nah ini seperti dipaparkan, masih banyak perempuan Jepang yang merasa mendapat perlakuan yang tidak adil. Dan hal ini justru menjadi penelitian yang menarik. Enigmatik gitu loh. Kenapa masih mengalami diskriminasi dan ketidaksetaraan? Oke, kira-kira itu Pak Andi Bangkit, saya kembalikan ke Anda. Ya, terima kasih.
Oke, terima kasih Pak Bahtiar. Sensei no Jugyo, hisashiburi ni uketa yona kiga shimashita.
Ingat ya, kuliah saya dulu ya. Oke, bagus.
Okay, thank you very much. So actually, how to say it? I received a message from the committee that we should speak in English.
Oh really? I'm sorry.
We also relay the seminar in YouTube at YouTube. So we're sure that the audience there will like to see not only from Indonesia but also from abroad. So
I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. No,
my bad.
Okay, so I would like to invite the second speakers for today plenary sessions, Dr. Kurniawati Hastuti Dewi, SIP MA from BRIN. Okay, Dr. Kurniawati, have you already in the room?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Dr. Kurniawati, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Bapak Dr. Andi Bangkit, for providing time for me. This is an honor to be part of this interesting symposium by ASJI. First of all, I would like to thank Chairman of ASJI, Bapak Julian Arvinpasa, PhD, and then Director General of the Japan Foundation, Mr. Takahashi Yuichi, and then Rector of Mahasaraswari University of Denpasar, Dr. Andes Imade Sukamerta, and then Professor Emeritus Aiko Kurosawa from Keio University, all the distinguished main speakers and all the plenary speakers and the participant as well. Good afternoon, everyone. So today I would like to share some of my thoughts and experience relating to gender norms, political participations, and challenges between Indonesian women and Japanese women. So allow me to share the PowerPoint ya, Pak.
Please.
Can you see, Pak Andi?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay, thank you so much. So I think I will try to deliver my presentation in 30 minutes. So I'm from Research Center for Politics, Greens, and today's I would like to share my thoughts and some experience doing of research about women in Japan and Indonesia, gender norms, political participation, and contemporary challenge. So I divided my presentation into two sections because the first time I would like to explore about the condition of women in Indonesia, in which I divided into three sections: gender norms, political participation, and contemporary challenge. Right. And the second section is about women in Japan with the same order, and the last one is conclusions. So I begin with the woman in Indonesia because my educational background from my master degree and PhD degree is from area study, especially Southeast Asian study. So I try to explain why I'm interested to study about gender and politics in Indonesia. According to my understanding, from 1980s, 1990s to 2000s, there is a lot of scholars, some scholars actually, who noting that actually there is a minor attention about the gender perspective in political study or political publication around Southeast Asia from 1980s, 1990s to 2000. For example, this is a edited book by Myla Stevens, and then this one is by Jane Morning Atkinson and Errington, and the last one around 2009 is by Teresa de Vasaya. So, for example, Myla Stevens in 1999, she summarized the result of international conference at Monash University in 1987. It notes that tendency of gender perspective to be absent in political writing in Southeast Asian intellectuals. And then Sally Errington in the edited book, she says that perhaps this absence of gender analysis in political study in Southeast Asia because of the fact of relatively equal economic condition between women and men in Southeast Asia. And then Susan Bradburn in 2009 in the red books that I have shown previously, she said that she still notes that in general, books on politics in Southeast Asia, Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, published in 2000 still show a lack of a level of gender analysis. So this is an interesting feature about Southeast Asian studies. Why is it happen like that? From my reading and my understanding, perhaps this is also can be explained by the fact, for example, by Anthony Reid, in which he noted a bilateral kinship of Southeast Asian pattern in which women and men can inherit rank and property equally. So this bilateral kinship also provide perhaps contribute to, not really strong gender inequality in Southeast Asia. And then there is also complementary nature of Southeast Asian role between male and woman, men and women, yeah, or male and female deities. This scholar also already notes. So this bigger picture actually will be related to my later presentation in comparing Indonesia and Japan. However, in the bottom line, no one denied that gender and democracy is very important in politics. For example, Annie Phillips in the book of Engineering Democracy and then Democracy and Differences noted that woman exclusion indicates a deficit of democracy. And then Andrea Vesberg and Claudia Deris also say that gender is important cross-sectoral category in political reform and democratization. And gender is also a significant marker for assessing the quality and development of democratic politics in transitional process. So nowadays, we cannot talking democracy without gender. And in the field of political science, because I also come from a political science backgrounds, while most of the, knowledge on political science mainly drawn by, my experience, some scholar by using feminist perspective try to say that actually woman experience in politics is also important. So knowing the relatively lack or ignorance scholar on political science in general about the importance of women in politics and women experience in drawing political knowledge. So they develop this gender and politics perspective. And then in more deeper, what we call ground, there is some approach is called family research methodology, in which belief that woman experience can be a source of knowledge in political science as well. And then usually these branches of knowledge believe about the politics is not only about structural and function, but also daily political or personal is political. And this is, the background of my majority research that I'm doing since around 2021. So how about the gender norms in Indonesia? Basically, we experience changing gender norms. I can say like that because during the New Order, we have this state egoism gender ideology in which depicting woman as a mother and wife. Basically, women are expected to contribute in domestic activity and in a private sphere to support the husband in the national development and the start national building. It was during the New Order, during the we so-called authoritarian era, because at the time development and economic growth needs stability. It's definitely increased the economic growth, but the political stability was actually supported a lot by women domestic role. And how about the after Reformasi or after May 1998, Indonesia entering the new phase called democratization era or Reformasi, in which, according to experience, there is more varied gender ideology expressions beyond the state egoism ideology. So these three important books about gender norms in Indonesia by Indonesianists in gender scholar study, mostly based in Australia, by Susan Bedburn, Catherine Robinson, and then Sharon Bessel. Basically, these books are talking about how the state egoism gender ideology working during the New Order and early Reform era. However, my last research last year, since 2009, and then just published last year about how is the implementation of gender state egoism in urban area in Jakarta, especially in PKK or pemberdayaan kesejahteraan keluarga, because PKK is one of the wadah or the way the state egoism was implemented is through PKK. In fact, according to my research in Jakarta, PKK leaders actually have a strong initiative to improve their role and to ensure that their presence and their active role is available and recognized by the state in the RPTRA. For example, they initiate and promote the lactation room and the what we call special toilet for women and men. So this lactation room is actually initiated by the female PKK leaders in Jakarta. And then according to my research as well, during the conversation with these female PKK leaders, they begin to advocate the issue on domestic violence and then to promote what we call ask the wife to usually experience abuse or domestic violence to report the case to the police and to not be afraid to do that. And then also discussion about more equal or more balanced in the relation in the household or in the family. So this kind of change, according to my understanding, indicates changing gender norms or indicates that PKK, what we call, comes into the direction of interesting feminist ideas or practices. How about so I'm moving to the, after understanding the gender norms, so I'm moving to the political participation in Indonesia. Basically, in 1975, there is a global movement by the first UN World Conference in Mexico City in 1975. And there is a Doha Convention in which Indonesia ratified it in 1984. And then we have this Impress on Gender Mainstreaming number 9, 2000. And then actually this international fora also influenced Japan very much. And then when talking about political participation in Indonesia, I divided into two: in parliament, in direct local election. In parliament, according to my research about development of gender quota in Indonesia, in which already published in 2007, there is strong role of women's group of civil society behind the adoption of affirmative action rule in the 2004 general election. So there is a very mounting debate and very good movement, strong movement among women NGO, basically in Jakarta, in which they day to day stay in the parliament, and then at the time we call it a fraksi balkon in DPR, because they always want to ensure that affirmative action process to be included in the law in the 2004 general election. And this actually successful, although it is not mandatory. So this is the timeline of gender quota in Indonesia. 2004 is voluntary quota, as I said, but this is changing dramatically from 2009, 2014, 2019, and the last election this year, all is mandatory quota with the zipper system. So we can say that actually the development of gender quota in Indonesia strongly contributed by the women's movement in Indonesia, which is solid at the time. And then this is important aspect, which is quite different with this in Japan. And then we can see the impact, for example, after introduction of gender quota, although this is not mandatory, voluntary, the increasing number of women in parliament increased from 9% to 11%, and all increase in the last election is 20.8%. So actually gender quota has positive impact to increase representation of women in Indonesian parliament. And according to some reading and research by scholars, at least 3 important lessons from 2019 general election. For example, women who won in 2019 general election, basically they have this true strategy. The first is by drawing on women networks to mobilize support, and the second is rely on prominent male politicians. And then some scholars are also factoring the list, the position of women in the list of candidacy, in which the women who are in the list of number 1 and number 2 usually has a higher opportunity to be elected and won the election. And then we also noticed that increasing background of women who are elected come from political familial test factor or political dynasty. So this is 3 important lesson from 2019 election. And then I also doing a research on motherhood identity, in which heavily debate in 2019 presidential election by the Prabowo Sandi, in which using the jargon of the power of emak-emak, and then the Prabowo Sandi in which the jargon the emak-emak, and then Pak Jokowi and Ma'ruf Amin with the jargon of Ibu Bangsa. So there is mounting debate among women NGO activists in Jakarta, and then I'm trying to explore those with the point of view of gender and populism in Indonesia. So actually, although Indonesian women movement previously solid, but since 2017 general direct local election in Jakarta, and then mounting in 2019 presidential election, there is some cleavage, and this situation makes us at the moment try to make some moves so that to prevent this from happening in 2024 general election. So this is the general election, still mandatory quota, 2004 general election, I mean. We still have mandatory quota, zipper system, and then proportional representation system. And then just to give a brief information that actually our team, Gender and Politics Research Team in BRIN, developed this framework called Masyarakat Sipil Setara Gender, or Gender Equal Civil Society Framework, to mapping out the capacity of women NGO in post-reformasi Indonesia, because so far the availability of framework only the POG and KETSI, and then we try to develop framework which can be used to mapping the capacity of women NGOs. And then according to my survey, online survey based on those framework, in which conducted last year among 64 women NGO in 23 provinces in Indonesia, it's become national database about women NGO capacity, in which at the moment we are trying to finish it into the book. And this is only one of the result of the survey, in which more than 50% women NGO in Indonesia haven't prepare their officer or member, member of the NGO to be, competed in the electoral competition in 2024 general election. And because of this data, at the moment, our team in collaboration with other 3 institutions try to encourage more involvement of women NGOs. And this is a second part of political participation of direct local election. As we know, after the reform era, there is introduction of direct local election by law number 32, 2004, in which the head of the government at the local level are directly elected by the people, for example, governor, mayor, and regents. And what is the impact? According to my data I collected, there is increased number of women female leader elected at local level after introduction of direct local election. And then this is my research in PhD dissertation in Kyoto University, in which published in NUS Press and Kyoto University Press, in which I revealing the religious factor behind the rise of Muslim Javanese leaders in Indonesia. Because at the time around 2005, there is mounting debate whether women are allowed to become a local leader or not. And then according to my research, I found that either Muhammadiyah or NU, both of them are allow women to become political leaders in local politics. Because, for example, Muhammadiyah rely on the decision of Adabul Mar'ah fil Islam, published in 1977, in which allow a woman to become a leader. And in NU, they based on the Basul Masail NU in Lombok in 1997, which is also allow a woman to become a leader. So this, what we call understanding, actually provide important information that actually Indonesian Islam or religion, majority religion in Indonesia, which is Islam, actually supportive and to female political leaders in Indonesia. And just to give a brief overview, I make a comparison between how is the impact of religion for women political participation in Indonesia, which is I factoring Islam, and then in Thailand, in which Theravada Buddhism is majority there, and then actually religion is important factor behind the political participation of women in this 2 region, in which Indonesian Islam actually moderate in supporting women political participation. So this is my longitudinal analysis and research about women in direct local election. I divided into 4 bases, but I don't know to go into the detail. Actually, this is also collective research by Gender and Politics Research Team. At the time is in LIPI. We studied 7 female leaders in Indonesian local politics. And then this is all the books published based on those research. And then by doing research with gender perspective in politics, we can uncover various factors behind the politics in Indonesia. For example, this is religion, this is about the familial ties factor, this is about networks, and this is about gender and poverty, and this is the synthesis. So that's also what we call showing the importance of bringing women experience as the source of knowledge in Indonesian political what we call science. And then it's also another aspect of research on Indonesian local politics in direct local election, how the aspect of piety and sexuality is very what we call prominent and playing a lot by these Muslim women leaders. And then I also doing research in Singkawang, in which the first female Chinese woman were elected in 2017. I interviewed Chai Chu-mei in Singkawang. And then, according to my understanding, the rising of Chai Chu-mei also bringing or deepening Indonesian democracy, because now the feature of Indonesian democracy is not representing by the heterogeneous woman leader are no longer homogeneous, but this is heterogeneous. Like not only Japanese woman, not only what we call Sundanese woman, but also Chinese woman in other part of outside Japan. And this is what we call current development of women who come from the political dynasty background in it's just published last year. So this is the general trend in direct local election. It with direct local election widening structural opportunities for local politics. And then in Indonesian Islam provides strong religious foundation. There is a shifting discourse of women in Indonesia, which is positive direction, an increasing trend of women local leaders from political dynasty, and then how we can contribute to the women in Indonesian politics actually contribute to deepening Indonesian democracy. And this is the contemporary challenge. One of these is violence against women in politics. So this trend or violence against women in politics is still gain minor attention by public or by scholar. So last year we have this webinar with Professor Mona Krupp, in which she wrote a book about violence against women in politics. So this is rather different violence, which is talked by Professor Bahtiar previously. This is violence against women in politics, specifically attacks women who run in politics. And then, for example, there is a case of Gracia from PSI, Grace Natali from PSI in 2018 election, and then Sarah Hadi Kusumo in 2020 election, if I'm not mistaken. So this kind of thing in which female politician usually become a victim of hoax, become a victim of harassment, semiotic harassment, something like that, is important, but we haven't put it as important things in Indonesian political knowledge or political research. And currently we are trying to do that in BRIN. So how about women in Japan? According to Engelhardt and Norris, they argue that actually post-industrial countries usually attain higher gender equality score than industrial and agrarian countries, except for Japan. So Japan is exceptional. And then one of the explanation perhaps is because Japan is have this strong traditional culture, which is based on Buddhism and Confucianism. So Japan is the only developed country in which what we call Christian, and then one of the explanation is because it's strongly attached to traditional culture of Buddhism and Confucianism. And how about the implementation, or how the Confucianism influence inside the Japan people? So I began, for example, tracing the what we call the reading in some scholars say it is began in 7th century, which obligated woman as a wife and mother. And then in Meiji Restoration, during the modernization era, there is an ideology of womanhood called Ryosei Kembo, or good wife, wise mother. And then actually this ideology continue after Japan post World War II, but in different, rather different or slightly direction. For example, 1960, the housewife model of womanhood, in which become the main model of femininity in Japan. And then being wise mother in post-war Japan, or motherhood, is become the main ideology at the time. And then it was not until 1980s that Japanese people come to realize the importance of women in politics. But it's also gradually changes, because, for example, in 1990s, there is Onna no Jidai Press, in which it's called the era of woman, and then meaning more freedom and influence and independence achieved by women around 1990s. And in the 2000, although around 2 decades ago, the term gender is relatively talked or what we call avoided by the politician, but around 2000, gender equality has increasingly been prioritized in Japanese politics. And also among younger generation, as also mentioned by Professor Aiko this morning, also what we call discuss a lot among young generation. So we now moving to political participation in Japan. As I mentioned earlier, there is international influence of the CEDAW. Japan has this basic law for gender equality society, or BLGES, in 1999, and several laws which is actually important for promoting participation of women in politics. And this is the debate about quota in Japan. And then surprisingly, there is law with advocating gender quota in Japan. So this is just a general debate about women quota starting from 1980s, 2000, and then 2012, and then LDP around 2012. And so actually the LDP, Liberal Democratic Party of Japan, is the conservative party. Basically, they do not agree with gender quota, but there is some changing position by Prime Minister of Shinzo Abe in 2012 that actually they would like to improve Japanese women position or condition. But some scholars say this is on, a kind of strategy or political strategy to gain more sympathy from the public. And then Professor Eto also mentioned that actually there is a small woman movement who advocate gender quota, because all is in the small scale, and then relatively public minor support to gender quota compared to the one in Indonesia. So basically Indonesia ranked 105 in the representation of women in national parliament, and then Japan ranked 164 worldwide. So if we can see, Indonesia is compare higher than Japan in the term of women in national parliament. So why women are underrepresented in Japan? According to Professor Eto, it could be 5 factors explaining about the culture, welfare state, electoral system, political party, and the lack of gender quota. So this is very important and interesting book for those who would like to see about the explanation. And this is also another references, important one. So what is the contemporary challenge? So I noted male-dominated socio-political climates, because in Japan, as also mentioned by earlier speaker, there's still modern political practice in which male-dominated political climates. And then the Japanese welfare state adopted the male breadwinner model, in which the state actually propose or promote or encourage or give more services to non-employed wife, for example, including social insurance and services. And then this male breadwinner model discourages women from engaging in public sphere. And Japanese Society of Women Primarily at Home, as also mentioned by Bapak Bahtiar previously, there is an M-shape, shape, about how usually many Japanese working women in the late 30s and late 40s resign from the full-time job because they have to take care of the household, but it doesn't happen for men. And then Japanese society expected manner of women to be polite, not asking any question, and then which is very contrast to political activity. We should be very brave, very bold, and you have to be very confident. And then option of strong woman movement, and then violence against women in politics. So violence against women in politics, interestingly, now gradually being covered by the media, rather different with Indonesian case. For example, in the Japan Times, they say the 65.5% of female respondents experienced some form of harassment from voters and other people. And then the Guardian also said, this is 2021, of the this female local assembly, 57.6% they had been sexually harassed by voters, supporters, and other assembly members. So rather different with Indonesian, the pairs already have some awareness about the violence against women in politics. And this is very important book about sexual harassment in Japanese politics, in which Dalton categorized violence against women in politics in Japan into 5 categories, 4 categories, rather different with the previous book by Professor Group 5 category, in which he introduced psychological violence, sexual violence, symbolic violence. So these two terms, symbolic violence and yuhara, or harassment by constituent, is the new term introduced by Dalton. And then at the moment, we are in BRIN, Gender and Politics Research Stream. At the moment, we are doing research on violence against women in politics in Indonesia, and hopefully we'll come up with some experience and knowledge about that. So in conclusion, So there is 4 differences and 3 similarity of woman gender norms and woman political participation in Indonesia and Japan. There is differences in level of economic development, in which Japan is post-industrial nation with slightly lower, gender equality and number of women in parliament compared to Indonesia, in which developing country. And there is different structural factor because Indonesia have mandatory quota, but in Japan there is no gender quota, only voluntary party quota. And different cultural tradition. It is in Indonesia, we have this moderate Islam of Muhammadiyah and NU, which is provide strong religious foundation for women to become a leader and participate in politics. But in Japan, there is Confucianism, and then, this kind of contribute to bias against women in politics. And different percent of women roles, especially women NGO, in which in Japan is relatively absent of strong women's movement and relatively general view support of women on gender quota. And there are 3 similarities: masculine political climate, there is class ceiling, or we call it invisible barrier for women to active in politics. It can be from the party politics, and then usually women have to think of their family first before going out to public arena, this is usually not happen to male politician. And then violence against women in politics, and then how we can pushing toward substantive representation of women, because the number is descriptive, but how we can pushing or make sure that it transform into substantive representation in which more women can deliver greater pro-gender policy. So actually, women in Indonesia and Japan contribute substantially to state national development and democratization. But how we can ensure that women should be a subject, not only object. So how we can ensure that women become can perform their agency in minimal definition of Sabah Mahmud in her study of Egyptian Muslim movement, meaning capacity for action, and how we can ensure that women can achieve empowerment. And empowerment in feminist understanding of Roland study on women movement in Honduras, at least 3 component: personal, relational, and collective action. So actually, how we can ensure that women in Indonesia and women in Japan can become a subject, has an agency, and can empower themselves so that no longer merely as object. So I leave with my presentation on this question to be able to reflect it both by Indonesian women and Japanese women and participant and all of us. Thank you so much. Andy, I give it back time to you.
Okay, thank you. If my voice, everybody can hear my voice, but I changed my microphone.
Yes, Pak.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for Dr. Kurniawati for the details and full of data for the presentation. And actually, it's a little bit interesting because as we know in our discussion with Professor Kurasawa this morning, we also mentioned about the quality of the female who joined the political movement or political activity in Japan, since that Professor Kurasawa has already mentioned that they only become the how we say it, the kasari, or the only how we say it, only for hiasan in Indonesia. So without any capabilities or just joining the political activity for just for the numbers only. So it will be also important for us to discuss this more. How about Indonesian women or female political activists, for example, how their quality and how they achieve their capability on that in that position. We will discuss this later, and from now on, I will invite Ibu Dewi Kusumasanti. Ibu Dewi Kusumasanti, already in the room? Okay. Yes. Okay. So I will give the floor to you, and please do the presentation around about 30 minutes because we have to finish everything at 4 o'clock and we still have one more presenter, and also we still do the question and answer session. Okay, so around 30 or 40 minutes. Please, Ibu Dewi, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good afternoon. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Namo Buddhaya. Salam kebajikan, salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Om Swastiastu. Om Anubadrah Kertawiyantu Vishwataha. May good thoughts come from all directions. Om Agyana Timirandhasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Guru Charan Kamini. First of all, I would like to extend my gratitude to ASJI and the committee and to everyone who is assembled here today. It is such an honor for me to be able to share my views on women's role in Japan and Indonesia with you all. On this special occasion, I would like to highlight several issues regarding women's role and their status in the society, especially in Bali, Indonesia. I, myself, a Balinese woman, and my topic today is Balinese women at the crossroads between religion and tradition. Bali is the only region in Indonesia where majority of the population are Hindus. Most Balinese adhere to Hindu's Dharmic religion, which is the Balinese version of Hinduism. Religious rituals are part of the daily life of Balinese people from birth to death. Even after death, it still plays an important role. Based on the data from the Directorate General of Population and Civil Registration, or we call it Dukcapil here, of the Ministry of Home Affairs, the total Hindu population in Bali is 3.71 million in June 2021. That is around 87% of the total population. Since most of Balinese people are Hindus, let us have a glance regarding Hindu law and its sources. Hindu law is thought to be divine law. God revealed it to human through the Vedas. Ancient Hindu legislators were not monarchs, but sages, who could be considered semi-divine individuals due to their deep intellectual speculation and foresight, as well as strong sympathy for man-to-man social dealings. It was these thinkers who established Hindu law, which can be found in the Chatur Vedas, the Dharma Sutras, Dharma Shastras, the Artha Shastras, etc. Hindu law dates back roughly 6,000 years. Hindu law considers custom to be the next source of law. Customs refers to a regulation that has gained legal force in a certain family, class, or district by lengthy usage. In Indonesia itself, three forms of law apply simultaneously, namely common law, religious law, and customary law. All of these laws are contained and regulated in Indonesian laws and regulation. Customary law contains religious elements applied to customary law communities in accordance with its legal circle. Balinese customary law applies to Balinese customary law community, namely Balinese people, who are bound by their legal alliance, both territorial and genealogy. Balinese customary law is the complex of norms containing orders, permissibility, and prohibitions, which regulate the life of the Balinese people concerning the relationship between humans, the relationship between humans and nature, the humans and their God, and in Bali it is well known as Trihita Karana. Balinese people adhere to a patrilineal kinship system. As we all know, patrilineal is a cultural custom of a society that draws its lineage based on father's lineage, where men are also considered more dominant and superior. The existence of gender bias in Balinese customary law theoretically provides a strong foundation for a patriarchal culture. Patriarchal culture has significant influence on the inheritance system in Balinese society. Women's exclusion from heirship is because it was considered that since men are the main bearers of the lineage, property should accrue to them. As women move into the different family or lineage after marriage, as a result, property was safeguarded by the keeping it under male control. The patriarchal culture in Bali contradicts the view of Hinduism as a teaching which dominantly believed by Balinese people regarding status of women. This can be seen in the status of men and women in marriage, right from inheritance, their role in social life, in public. In Balinese social life, Balinese men have privileged status and roles. This can be seen in custom meetings where mostly conducted by men. Even the decision makings are done by them. Meanwhile, women only accept what men decide for them. As far as I'm aware, there's never been a female bandesa or chief village in Bali. Likewise, in the matter of inheritance, only sons are entitled to inherit, while daughters only as beneficiaries without the right to inheritance. This is, of course, against the principle of gender equality. Now, let us see the status and role of Balinese women. In the holy book of Manawa Dharma Sastra, it is one of the Veda Smriti, it is stated that roles of women include continuing the family lineage, educating their children, and carrying out religious duties in the family and society. But the role of Balinese women is more diverse. They even actively participate in welfare of the society. It is not surprising if we see many economic activities in Bali involve women. Balinese women are involved in almost all areas of life related to earning a living to support the family. In carrying out religious ceremonies, Balinese women also play a very important role. Many men are good at talking about religious offering and ceremonies, yet only few are able to make them, let alone Majajaitan. Majajaitan is preparing the religious offering. It is no exaggeration to say that Balinese women are the main preservers of Balinese culture and civilization. Here we can see in this picture the triple role of Balinese women. They have economic roles, religious roles, as well as family roles. And what about the status of Balinese women in marriage? In marriage, Balinese women released from its legal relationship with family of origin and then entered her husband's family totally. Women who already married are no longer considered rights and obligations, both material and immaterial, in the family of origin. Even since childhood, Balinese women have been prepared to belong to another family. One of the consequences is she is no longer considered entitled to inheritance from her own family. She is expected to receive an inheritance from the male side of the family according to her husband's right. But in reality, the inheritance from the male side is fully belong to the husband, who will later on pass to the sons in the family. Inequality between men and women is even reflected in the word which they use to describe the relationship between husband and wife, where the wife is called ngayahin, meaning to serve the husband, instead of nampingin, or meaning accompanying. The existence of distorted concept of Purusha as male and Pradhana as female also creates injustice for Balinese women, where women or Pradhana is considered inferior to men or Purusha, so that Hindu women in Bali are often called heir without inheritance. Purusha does not mean merely men, just as Pradhana does not mean merely women. Purusha can be likened to a body, while Pradhana is the soul. A body without a soul is impossible to live, let alone function. If the soul and body are dynamically integrated, then a balance of life will be established. Balance of life will guarantee the harmony of life in the real world, and life goals will be achieved. If seen from Sankhya philosophy, this is one of the Hindu philosophy, then Purusha and Pradhana is called as Purusha and Prakriti. Both of them are two elements equally important in the creation of the universe. Whereas the holy script of Hindu, called the Vedas, regard marriage as a union of two equals. No one individual is given more importance over the other. As with Sita Rama, which symbolize the teamwork aspect of marriage. The Vedas believe that both husband and wife constitute the griha, or home. In fact, after marriage, the wife is considered to be Ardhangini, meaning other half, or Sahadharmini, meaning her husband's partner in or friend in dharma. The wife also becomes the Samprajini or queen of the household and has an equal share in the performance of religious rites. Below are some excerpts from the Vedas related to marriage. From Atharva Veda, Mandala 14, Sukta 1, mantra 20, stated that, O wife, become the queen and manager of everyone in the family of your husband. Still from Atharva Veda, Mandala 14, Sukta 1, mantra 61, O bride, you shall bring bliss to all and direct our homes towards our purpose of living. From Atharva Veda again, Mandala 14, Sukta 2, mantra 71, O wife, I am knowledgeable and you are also knowledgeable. If I am Samaveda, then you are Rig Veda. The Vedas, further in regards to equal participation in religious rites, say, O women, these mantras are given to you equally as to men. May your thoughts too be harmonious. May your assemblies be open to all without discrimination. Your mind and consciousness should be harmonious. I give you these mantras equally as to men and give you all and equal powers to absorb the full powers of this mantra. It is stated in Rig Veda, Mandala 10, Sukta 191, Mantras 3. The Vedic tradition holds high regards for women, believing them to be the embodiment of several important qualities and powers. It advocates for female society, for female safety and empowerment, stating that Yatra naryantu pujante, brahmante tatra devataha. Yatraitastu na pujante, sarvas tatra phalaha kriyaha. It is stated in Manusmriti, chapter 3, verse 56, meaning, where women are honored, divinity blossoms there. Where women are dishonored, rejected, or treated as commodity, all action, no matter how noble, remain unfruitful. Still from Manusmriti, verse 3, chapter 3, verse 55, Pitribhir Bhratibhish Chaitaha, Patibhir Devarais Tatha, Puja Bhulsayita Vyascha, Bahu Kalyanam Mitsubhihi. Meaning, women shall be honored and adorned by their fathers and brothers, husbands and brothers-in-law who are desirous of their own welfare. Now let us look at Hindu views women. Among the many societies in the world, some of the most venerating regards for women has been found in Hinduism. It is the only major religion that has always worshipped God in the female form called Shakti and continues to do so even today. Hinduism holds women in high esteem and address them as Dharma Patni, or one who promotes and preserves the rightful conduct of life. And woman is also called Sahadharmacharini, meaning one who moves with the husband on the path of Dharma, or Dharma meaning righteousness and duty. Hindus worship the feminine divine in the form of Shakti or Divine Mother. God, as a mother goddess, is responsible for the well-being of the universe and is considered the embodiment of incredible power. Shakti is considered the energy which sustained everything, including the male deities. In fact, such male deities are seen as incomplete without their consort or Shakti. Some of the personification of Shaktis are Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune and queen of Lord Vishnu, Saraswati, the goddess of learning, Durga, the goddess of strength and power, Kali, the power of time, and other Vedic goddesses that exemplify inner strength and divine attributes. In Hindu scriptures, female and male principles are described as two halves of a whole or two wheels of a cart. The cart can move fast and safely when both of them are pulling the cart in the same direction and with equal strength. But if one of the wheels is damaged, nothing will be possible. It is stated in Taittiriya Samhita. It is from the Chaturveda. Hindu epics such as Mahabharata and Ramayana idealize women, embodied by this depiction of Draupadi, the wife of the 5 Pandavas in the Mahabharata, and Sita, the wife of Prince Rama in the Ramayana. Both of them are regarded as Shrestha Nari, meaning pure women. There are also many Puranic texts which elucidate the stories and symbols of solely the feminine divine. Stories and prayers from the Devi Mahatmya and Devi Bhagavata Purana, for example, are the subject of art, poetry, dance, drama, and even worship. In Balinese customary law, on the other hand, the position of Balinese women in all areas of life is subordinate as compared to men. This is heavily influenced by the family system that prevails in Balinese society, which places women in a weaker position compared to men. This is, of course, contradictory to the views of Hinduism regarding women. In decision making, men are dominant while women had to follow what men decided. It is considered as natural by most Balinese people. Obviously, this contradicts the teaching of Hinduism, where men and women are regarded as equally eligible in decision making. This is too contradictory to the principle of gender equality. What about inheritance right? In Balinese customary law, men are considered as the original heir who controls all of the heir's assets, whereas women can only enjoy these assets as life support without ownership of inherited property. The Balinese customary law community recognizes the term kapurusa, which means women follow men after marriage. On that basis, women cannot count it as heir in her own family. A woman can become the heir if she has no brothers. Then a process will be held to elevate the status of women to men called Santana Rajat. Santana Rajat is a process of elevating the status of women become male or Santana through a certain ceremony according to Balinese custom. So from the above description related to the topic, I would like to give conclusions and recommendations. First is Bali clearly still has a homework to do regarding gender equality and the protection of women's rights. Second, Balinese policymakers must be able to harmonize Hindu religious teachings with Balinese customs. Third, Balinese customary law, which regulates kinship and inheritance, is indeed gender biased. The existence of gender bias in Balinese customary law theoretically provides an opportunity against male dominance and lay a strong foundation on patriarchal culture. And fourth, creating a new gender-sensitive culture is a shared task between individuals, communities, and governments, because only with the independence of women in all aspects of life, gender justice will be achieved. And gender equality is the prerequisite for a better world. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Om Shanti, 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 Om. Have a nice day.
Okay, thank you very much, Ibu Dewi Kusumasanti. It's very interesting to hear about how the perspective of Hindu in seeing the women role in a society, especially based on the manuscript of Hinduism. So it's maybe it's not common in us to know how the manuscript itself tell us about the function and also the contribution of the female in the society. It's very interesting. And actually, the presentation done by Bu Dewi actually give a different perspective, because in the first two presenter, we already hear about the modern perspective and also the liberal perspective about the female function in the society. And now we will see, now we have already heard about the traditional perspective about the female function or the female contribution within the society. This is very interesting. And we will hold some question and answer after this. And we will still have one last presenter that is me actually. I will give one more a brief presentation to answer, maybe just give a new give other perspective about the problem of female function, or maybe female in the Japanese society. And after that, we will have a question and answer session. And before the presentation, or maybe before the end of the session, if the audience has the question or maybe some topic to be discussed, I will invite all of you to write down the question and also the idea in the commentary chat, in the chat column, so we can read it after the session, at the end of the session, in the question and answer session. Okay, so I will prepare my own presentation. Okay, so I will give a brief information about the function of women in Japanese society based on a books, actually, a manuscript of the Confucianism. We already hear some of our speakers actually touch about this, how we say it, about this learning that is Confucianism and the function of the Confucianism in shaping the female or the women perspective in Japanese society. But now we will try to see further, briefly, about the Confucianism text. Well, actually, this is my personal interest, actually, because I'm doing my work, my research on the intellectual history, Japanese intellectual history, especially about the Confucianism. So I will make it briefly, so we will have much time for the discussion. I will skip this one. This is about the gender gap in Japan, and also how the Japanese society gender gap getting dropped to the rank 104 in the latest in the World Bank Gender Equality Survey. That's actually very disastrous for the Japanese, because almost 3 years or 4 years, starting from 2020, actually the survey give bad result for the Japanese society about the rank for the gender equality survey. And especially the survey give a special attention about how the Japanese female are not treated equally in the working place. So that's why if we see the gender wage gap, for example, for the Japanese, we have the green line here. So it's always decreasing. So the gap of the percentage of the gap for the Japanese female and male worker related with the wage, it's very, very significant, actually. So related to the gender issues, I actually already done some research. Well, it's been a while actually for me to talk about the gender issue in Japanese society. At 2008, actually I published a study atas debat mengenai Kaisar Perempuan dalam Perkumpulan Politik Omeisha. It's about one of the Japanese political party in the beginning of Meiji era, the Omeisha, and how they discuss and discourse about the female emperor, actually. And after that, I also published about another paper about the formation of the Japanese imperial system, and especially about the issue of the Japanese emperor, female emperor. And also in the same year, I published one more paper about the discourse about the female emperor that happened during the year of 2005 to 2007, actually. So I try to make a few about the gender problem and related with the politics during during the year of 2004 to 2007, and I found it's very interesting. Why? Because the gender issue related with the imperial system, especially the female emperor, is possibility within the Japanese society or not. It's very interesting. Why? Because sometimes if we see the discussion about for example, the policy of the Japanese government, there are some parties that actually give an opposition, give opposition to the policy. But if we see, if we use the problem of the female emperor and its possibility within the Japanese modern imperial system, actually they have the same opinion and they have the same issue. They are, all of them are rejected about the possibility of the female emperor. And this is very interesting because not only the left wing political parties, but also the right wing of the political parties, they all rejected about the issue, about the idea of to make possible the Japanese emperor from the female. So I will not talk much about this research actually, but I want to give an insight about the issue of the gender according to the text itself. So I will try to make introduction to the text of the Confucianism. But before that, I will try to provide you some interesting data actually. If we see here, this is the Empress Regnant in the Japanese history, or the female emperor in the Japanese history actually. So Japanese actually in their history recognize 8 female as an emperor. The first one is the Suiko Tenno, and then we have also Kokyoku Tenno, and then we have also the third is the Jito Tenno, and then Gemme Tenno, and then Gensho Tenno, Kokeng Tenno, Meisho Tenno, and the last one is the Gosakuramachi Tenno. Gosakuramachi Tenno. So these 8 emperors actually exist and they hold the political power during their time actually. But if we see here, the last female emperor was happened during Edo period actually. As we know that Edo period is one of the period when the Confucianism became the main ideology of the society. So from this just a brief data, actually we can make a guess, actually we can make assumption that the Confucianism give a huge implication to the society, especially related to the female recognition within the society. But actually it's not. Actually it's not. It's not that simple actually. If we see, the idea of the gender equality actually also have been reached in Japan during the Meiji period. Before the Meiji period, they already raised the translation movement from the Western book to the Japanese. And one of the books that is translated into the Japanese is The Subjection of Woman by John Stuart Mill. It was translated to Danjo Doken Rong, or the theory of the equality between men and women, translated by Fukama Naiki. It was published during the beginning of the Meiji period. And also, not only that, but if we see the Meirokuzashi, for example, a magazine that is published by some significant intellectuals in Japan during the beginning of the Meiji, for example, Fukuzawa Yukichi, Nishi Amane, etc. They also do some. They also wrote some articles about the importance of the equality between male and female within the magazine. So if we see, even though the existence of the female emperor in the Japanese society, especially in the Japanese the Japanese imperial system, were actually in the beginning of the Meiji, they try to promote the same idea about the possibility of the female emperor, and also about the possibility of the gender equality, etc. That's why starting from the middle of the Edo period to the end of the Edo period, actually there's a lack of information whether how the Japanese society acknowledge the female within the society. So actually, if we see the history, there is a book that actually published in Japan during that time, in the middle of the Edo period, actually, during those, how we say, the blank timeline within the society, within the Japanese history, actually. This is the book entitled Onna Daigaku, or not the University of Female, but the Great Learning of Female. The author is unknown, but actually this book was based on one book that is also published before this era. So I will talk about that after this. So in this Onna Daigaku, or the book of the Great Learning of the Female, as you can see, it was written in Manyo, actually. It was written in Kusuziji, and mainly it used hiragana, actually. And also, if we know about the Japanese literature, we know that this kind of writing actually especially wrote by female. Yeah, actually wrote by female. Because in this era, in the Edo period, the male will use the kangbung, the sentence all written in the kanji. So this book is written in furigana, in hiragana. So that's why we say, so scholars say that it's written by a female. So there's a book actually that becomes the base of this Onna Daigaku. That is the book entitled Wazoku Dojikun, or the Learning for the Children in Japan. If we translate it into the Japanese, for the common people in Japan. So it was written by Kaibara Ekikeng in the middle or in the mid era of the Edo period. And if you see, it was written in two writing system. The first one is the kangbung, as you can see here. This is the kangbung writing system. This is the kangbung writing system, and this not the kangbung writing system. So you can see the differences. This is actually the male system, the male writing system. And this is the female writing system. So if we see the text that is written or published during the Edo period, or maybe before the Edo period, and we see it is like this within the in this system, so we can make assumption that it is written by the female, or a person that or written by a scholar that he think that the person will read, or maybe the female will read all the manuscript, all the text that is written. So this is the Wazoku Dojikun. So if you see here, well, maybe some of us cannot, maybe not some of them, maybe it's difficult for us to read it. So I make a brief actually, and I will explain it later. And if we see this book, is very interesting. This Wazoku Dojikun actually also published today. So if we see here, this is the Wazoku Dojikun, or the Onna Daigaku based book that is written in the contemporary writings. So actually they translated the text in the original text, and also make a translation in the modern Japanese. So this is very interesting. So we can imagine that if, as Professor Kuratawa Aiko told us in this morning, that she very excited and very expecting much about the teenager, or maybe the younger Japanese, that they will change, and they have transformed their view about the female, because the interaction of them between them within the social media. But actually, on the other hand, this kind of book actually already still published in the Japanese society. We can see this book in the common bookstore, or maybe at Kinokuniya, etc. They can reach it, and they can read it, and they can buy it in a cheap way. So what is important thing is that it's not only that our knowledge are considering that Confucianism, or maybe the traditional view of the Japanese, that actually give a bad influence about the view about the Japanese, how they see about the female. But actually, the Japanese itself still understanding or still holding this kind of book, and they're still reading this kind of book during this day. And the other one is, this is also important. This is actually one of the hoikushi shiken, or the examination for someone who wants to become a caretaker or the child caretaker, the national certificate child caretaker. So they should pass the examination. And if we see one of the question within the examination, this is very interesting. If we see it, for example, it is this one from Heisei 2, 2012, we can see this, that actually one of the question is Kaibara Ekikeng. So this is about the Kaibara Ekikeng. So they should within the examination, it was told that according to the book of the Kaibara Ekikeng Wasoku Dojikung, this text, it's explaining what. So if you see this is very interesting. So that means the book of Kaibara Ekikeng about the female is actually still used in our daily life, or maybe in their daily life, and also their examination for someone who wants to become the child caretaker. So from the question that rise in 2012, we can also see this. This is the about the Kaibara Ekikeng, and also the same question also came up again in 2019. It's about the Kaibara Ekikeng also, about the Kaibara Ekikeng and Wazoku Dojikung. So we see here, it is very interesting. And for example, in the 2020, we also see the same question actually. Wazoku Dojikung is also came up as a question within the examination for the child caretaker, for the hoikushi in the Japanese. So what does it mean? It means that the Japanese still using the value of the Kaibara Ekikeng books in their activity. They still need to make sure that the hoikushi, the child caretaker, know about the value, know about the philosophy of the Kaibara Ekikeng. This is today, actually. This is not 10 years ago, or maybe 12 years ago, or maybe 100 years ago, but it is today. If you see this is the question of the examination held in 2020, actually. So this is very interesting. So if we see much further about the if we see much further about this Onnadaikaku or this Wasoku Dojikung, we will see that the content of the Onnadaikaku or Wasoku Dojikung is composed from 15 chapters. From the first chapter, we have this one, Retsu Onadeng, or the biography of the greatest female, and then about Waka, the poem about the female. Of course, the poem will teach us about how to become a good female, or how to become a good mother, for example. And then the other one, the third chapter is about Tenarai, about something that should the female learn. And then about Sentaku, about how to wash your clothes. And then about Keiko, about practicing some art, for example, samisen, or maybe some traditional Japanese play. And then next, the chapter is about Taiho, about showing. And then it's about Kami, that is the hair. And then Kosodate, about how to raise a child. And then Kesho, how to do a makeup. And Ongaku, the music. And then Yuino, about the engagement. And then Kekong, about the marriage. And then about Ansang, it's about the birth, the childbirth. And then Oya Kokoroe, it's about the manual of the parents. Yeah, manual of the parents. And then the last one is the Oya Kyokung, the learning that the parents of the children should know. So if we see here, starting from the chapter 1, yeah, the Onnadaikaku give us some example about the female. the real female, the real in the Japanese history, the real female that is great, that is become the example of the female. And then after that, they will teach us about the waka, about the poem. The poem, the content of the poem is about the female also. And then after that, starting from third chapter to this one, to the 12th chapter, the Onna Daigaku teach the Japanese about how to become a female, how to do something about female. That is the tenarai, the sentaku, or keiko, the practicing, or sewing, or maybe dressing your hair, or maybe how to raise a children, etc. So it is a real, really a practical manual, actually, the Onna Daigaku. Now we can see some of the example that we can that is written within the Onna Daigaku. This is about the Retsudeng. Actually, it's only a picture. Yeah, it's only a picture about the Onna Retsudeng. So during within this chapter, actually the author only show us the picture and also tell us about the brief story about the female. This is about the Retsudeng. And the other one, this is about waka. And you see here, there's some picture of the Japanese scenery, and there's some waka here, some poetry. And it's also about the female, how to become a female, and what will happen if you become a good female, etc. And then tenarai. Yeah, this is the tenarai. So if we see here, there's so many explanations. If we compare it to the waka and also the Retsudeng, yeah, Retsu Onna Deng. So the explanation within the Onna Retsudeng is so minimum. Also in the waka. But if you see in the tenarai, it's very complicated. So they should learn about everything here. So if we see, actually, I make some how we say, not translation. Actually, I read it down again in the modern, in the Kangbong style, in the classical Japanese style. So if we see starting from this page, we can see tenarai wa danjo tomo isho no takara ni shite kanarazu osanaki toki ni narau beki nari. Toshi takete wa hazukashikute naraiyesu. Koto ni onna wa tae no yome kau. Si arui wa homochi nado nari te wa yoi yo narau beki tomo yomonasi. So the meaning is tenarai, learning something that is related to the household, is not the obligatory of the female, but the obligatory and also a treasure for a male, both male and female. So it should be learned by someone during his daily life. And then, especially, this is the important one, especially for the female, because she will go to another household, that is marriage, because she will marry and become a mother, having a child. So she should learn about tenarai better than the male. So if we see the sentence here, actually there is no gender inequality, but the sentence actually teaches us about it is the same way both male and female should learn how to manage the household. So this is very interesting if we see it. So this is the Confucianism ethics actually that is written in the during the Edo period. That is became the basic of the Japanese modern people to understand about the female. This is about the tenarai. And then the other one is about the keiko, about the practicing something related with the art. So if we see here, starting from this sentence, actually we can see that Oyosoko o sotatsuru koto kokoro e arubeki nari. So it's written there that the keiko or the learning arts it should be done by all children, not only the female, but also the male. Okay, so this is about the keiko. And sorry, and from the back side, from the back one, this one, if we see it, this is onna. Yeah. Onna watada aini nomi ohorete osiubeki kotomo osiezu. Wagamama kizui ni sotatsu tokoro oishi. Male, no, not male. Female should do more about the children by giving love, not doing the household, but giving love to the children and teach them about how to do so they become grow naturally. So this is very interesting. Why? Because in the text of the Confucianism, actually some of the Confucianism, I mean, some of the text of Confucianism, it is told to the people or the Japanese at the time that it is the same between male and female. Yeah, this is the same between male and female. So there is no gender inequality actually. So that's why if we go jump to the beginning of the Meiji period, when the gender equality idea came by the translation of the John Stuart Mill books about the subjection of the moment, came and then read by the Japanese, there is no objection or there is no rejection from the society. Why? Because actually one of their books actually already told them about how to become a male and female within the household, how to divide the work within the household between the male and female. So it is, so the conclusion is, it's not only blaming about this is because the Confucianism ideology that made the Japanese become like that, but we should see the details, which part of the Confucianism and how the situation and how the condition of the society that interpret the text of the Confucianism to become the text of the gender inequality and became the textbook of the gender inequality in the after. So this is very important for us if we discuss about the gender equality within the Japanese society actually. And last, actually, one of the greatest scholar in Japan, the Fukuzawa Yukichi, that has become the father of the education in Japan. He actually also wrote about the Onna Daigaku. He tried to copy it and also tried to make some correction about the Onna Daigaku. This is also very interesting if you want to do the research about the female existence in, yeah, how the female exists in during the Japanese society, in the Japanese society during the modernization era. This is one of the great data to be researched. So the conclusion is, as we also heard from Ibu Dewi about the Hinduism and how the text of the Hinduism actually promoting the shape of the female, that is actually, well, this is beyond our imagination. They are also promoting their own the female view. Actually, the Confucianism also promoting their own view about the female. It's not merely about how the male should be above the female, but as we see from the Onna Daigaku, actually they are promoting the gender equality, starting from the 7th century, starting from the 16th century, within the text of the Confucianism. So I think this is enough from my presentation, and I will try to invite all the speakers to be joined. For the admin, from the administration, from the Pak Handoko, can you make me, myself, Dr. Kurniawati, and then Bu Dewi, and then Pak Bakhtiar in a spotlight? So for the 4 of us.
Okay.
Okay, so now we are trying to invite the question from the floor. I'm sorry because it's raining in my place now. It's very hard raining. Okay, so now I'm inviting a question from the floor. If somebody who has a question. Is there any question? Okay, while waiting for the question from the floor, I'd like to make some discussion with Pak Bahtiar and also Bu Kurniawati and Bu Dewi. So if we see that in the first presentation from Pak Bahtiar, actually, it is very interesting that Pak Bahtiar actually underlining one, we can say one fact that the gender inequality is due to the misinterpretation or over interpretation on ideological, especially the religion text. But after now we heard about the presentation from Bu Dewi, actually the religion text is also providing some another figure, the ideal figure about the female. So Pak Bahtiar, do you have any idea about this phenomena actually?
Yes, actually, it's very interesting. Religion has both sides of the same coin. Actually, it can be used to enhance gender equality, but it also can be used to or misinterpreted to be used as a tool of oppression, as a tool of perpetuating gender inequality. So I think it's both are true, and it depends on your perspective, and depending on the reality you are facing, you can say both can be possible. That's my quick response.
So is it okay that if we say that the religion text, the religion philosophy, the religion value actually just merely a tools for some, for example, the political condition, the economical condition of the society during some particular time, and that they use it, the people who live in that time use it as for the legitimating the gender inequality.
Yeah, I guess it's quite possible. I don't know. Maybe other panelists would say something, Ibu Kurniawati or Ibu Dewi. Yeah, but it's absolutely possible to use any doctrine, any religious text in any possible ways, and it has been done so many times, especially during the sort of political year. In every religion, you can find multiple diverse perspectives from A to Z. So smart politicians can always make use of these texts and doctrines for their own benefit, I guess.
Okay. So I will try to Bu Kurniawati. Dr. Kurniawati, do you have any idea about this phenomenon, about this problem?
Okay, thank you so much, Pak Andi Setiawan and Pak Bahtiar Alam for interesting discussion. According to my research, yeah, actually, what we call my research coming from the, around 2005, there is heated debate among Indonesian society because at the time, some women leaders emerged from direct local election, pilkada langsung, and at the time, many people still, because this is new phenomena, then many people still thinking that is it allowed a woman to become a leader, local leader, like gubernur, bupati, something like that. And then starting from there, I saw three interesting figure who elected in direct local election. And then because these three interesting figures coming from very strong, religious region, strong religious regions, and then all of them are Muslim. So that I would like to know the religious foundation of Indonesian mainstream Islam, namely NU and Muhammadiyah. And then I interview the religious leaders. I observe the document, the printed document of these two organizations, Islam in Indonesia, the mainstream one, and then in which these three women also conform to them. And then I found that either Muhammadiyah or NU, both of them supporting women leadership in local politics. In document, I found in Muhammadiyah is in Adabul Mar'ah fil Islam, and then in NU is Basul Masail decision in Lombok in 1997. And then when I doing the interview with some religious leaders in which these 3 women are elected, yeah, they also refers to this, printed document. So actually, that's why these 3 women leaders are very confident to rise, although they come from very Islamic religious region, yeah, because they know that they have strong religious foundation. But in fact, in reality, some opposition from those who come from different political party, I agree, they usually also use, different version of the verse, Islamic verse, to counter, their nomination. But in officially, actually, it is okay, Pak, Indonesian mainstream Islam. But as you said, mentioned earlier, some use kind of pick some Islamic verse which is suitable for their purpose, to opposing, because they come from different section, different political parties, and something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And then my my emphasis of the Indonesian Islam contribution is to just give a different perspective of how Islam is compatible to democracy, especially Indonesian Islam, because previously after the 9/11 tragedy, there is a widespread understanding that Islam is really discriminated against women and etc. But something different happened in Indonesia because of the direct local election, and then many Muslim women coming, become leader and elected. So why Indonesian Islam is majority Muslim country? What is the explanation behind this, rather contradicts phenomena? So I think that's one of interesting finding from my research. So we have to put clearly what is the real and official and the truth. But in practice, some people, using different verses according to their
political manipulation and maneuvering always happening before the elections. Right.
Actually, if we talk about the Confucianism and the Japanese, it's also the same.
Yeah, right. That's interesting.
Because the Confucianism also they also consist a lot of streams actually. Basically, there are 2 big streams in the Confucianism: the Yomegaku and the Sushigaku. The Sushigaku is the classical one, and the Yomegaku is the how we say, the radical one actually. Some of the Japanese left-wing activists came from the Yomegaku, and even some of the Japanese communism activists, they came from learning from the Yomegaku. So actually, all of the aspect of the Japanese, mainly, well, we can say influenced by the Confucianism, but which part of the Confucianism? What kind of Confucianism and what kind of text did that read? For the lesson, this is very important.
Yeah, let me just inject one quick thing here. Confucianism in Japan and Indonesia are quite different. You see, in Indonesia, Confucianism that's one of religions. Can you imagine that? Confucianism itu agama, religion. Whereas in Japan, it's a philosophy.
Yes.
So many Japanese friends of mine, they were kind of surprised to see that here in Indonesia we have rituals and rumah ibadah, Confucianism, and they pray in this. There's temples or churches or whatever, and they have their own rituals. I think this happens also probably in Taiwan, other Confucianist countries. But in Japan, Confucianism is predominantly considered philosophy. Yomegaku, Shoshigaku, whichever you choose, philosophy.
Maybe it's just like Buddhism. So,
okay, Budewi, please.
Like Buddhism is also earlier it was a philosophy, and now it becomes religion.
Where
it's the same thing with
in Japan.
Okay.
In Japan, you mean, Budewi?
No, I mean
everywhere.
In India.
In India, okay.
In India, earlier in the Yes.
I guess Japanese religious attitude is very unique and interesting. It's totally wrong if you say Japanese are non-religious or irreligious. Okay? But their practice of religion is like once a year going to the temple and throw the coins and pray for good fortune. And they really believe, and they get a small piece of paper in which you can read your ramalan, yeah, prophecy. Next year will you get good luck or bad luck, and they fulfill their religiosity by doing that.
Yeah, it's kind of religion, actually.
Very practical religion, actually. So they are. But one thing that is good about Japan is they're honest in saying that Japan is a secular country. It's a secular. Separation of state and church is final. That's Japan. In Indonesia, nobody can say Indonesia is secular. No, Indonesia is not secular. But Indonesia, nobody can say Indonesia is Islamic country. No. Indonesia is Pancasila country.
So it's something in the middle between secular and religious.
Whatever it means, neither secular nor religious, theocratic, but it's Pancasila. That's the uniqueness of Indonesia.
Okay, actually, I think we have one question from Pak Koco, actually.
Yeah.
Please, Pak Koco.
Okay, thank you very much. It's not question, but first I will comment about the presenter's presentation. The first that Bahtiar Alam said talks before about the quality gender.
Yeah.
Quality gender is global.
Yeah.
Global is universal applicable.
Yeah.
But the result of this is different.
Okay.
The result in each country, in every country, is different. The result.
Yeah.
Why? Yeah.
It's almost the same with the democracy.
Yeah. If you know that in the
exactly.
legal approach, yeah, I want to approach the law approach. You know that Bu Dewi said before that the Hinduism, this is patriarchal, as Bahtiar said before, and also in Indonesia itself, that Minang is matriarchal, but in Japan is Confucianism. This mixed with Buddhist, this mix in Japan.
Yeah.
This harmonization. So in each country, this it has the value in the society. It's different because in every country has the positive law and the customary law, as Devi said.
Yeah.
This is true because the customary law, this is the norm or the value, not value, but norm in the society is the what do you say in Latin is erga omnes or jus cogens. This is in law.
Which means?
Which means, yeah.
Which means what?
But which means that if we compare about the gender quality, for example, Korea and Japan, this is different. Indonesia and Korea is different. Different result. This is different result. Why? In my opinion, that the gender equality is one of human right.
Yes.
Human right derogable. This is so the rating of the state in the world is different. For example, in Japan 194, but Indonesia maybe in human right maybe is lower than that. But Japan is high.
Yeah.
This is only perception. Only perception. But you know that in every country is we cannot conclude it. We cannot about the quality of gender, because gender is the specifically character in the every country, it's different. This west and east and west or this different.
Yeah. I know. Just quick comment here. For instance, the law of inheritance, warisan, misalnya, ya. That can be different from a society to other society, right? Like in Islam, male kids, boys, sons can take more inheritance from than the girls. All right, and that is still be considered equal. All right, because it is based on certain written regulation, positive law. All right. So inheritance law can be different from one country to another, one society to another. But one thing that is universal, one thing that nobody can deny its universality, is that men and women are equal. The idea that men and women are equal. That's universal, Pak, itu. I know because you're a legal scholar, you're from Fakultas Hukum, Pak, ya, Mas Koco. That's universal.
Equal. But if the application, applicated in each country is different, because the transformation from the international law to the national law is different, and national law is influenced, the big influence by the customary law.
Of course. Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Please. Okay, a very interesting discussion, and I like to take also to Ibu Dewi actually about what we have discussed just now about because within the religion text, or maybe from Islam, from the Confucianism. Actually, it's only a tools for some particular society to legitimate the idea of their own, for example, what they understand about the equality itself, the concept of the equality itself. So how about in Hinduism? Is there any kind of, in the Hinduism practical, for example, is there any kind of, how we say it, phenomena that is how we say it, similar with that things?
All right, I will try to answer this. In Hinduism, also in the Vedic text, the Vedas itself, Vedas are very vast literatures actually. It is from Rig Veda, and then Veda Smriti, Veda Shruti. There are so many literatures called as the Vedas. So in Vedas itself, there are so many also like contradictory, even if I say. In the Rig Veda, for example, if we talk about the status of women, in the Rig Veda, early Veda, the status of women, the status of women were very high. Even I can say it's even higher than men. But if we see the later Veda, like Manusmriti, the status of women becomes a little bit lowered. Degradation is there. Like in Smriti, the later Vedas, it says that women should not be let alone, like freely, moving freely. It should be accompanied by husband, either husband or father or even the son.
Brothers.
And again, there is one actually holy book. It is called Sarasamuchaya in Hindu. This book degrades women. I myself have no idea how it happened. Book, women were called as women are called as what? Sumber dosa.
Yeah. Source of sin.
Creature.
Godaan, temptation itu.
Yeah, it happened even in Hindu scriptures. There are various views about women, about one topic. Yeah. Even
So basically, the concept of the equal itself, it's actually interpreted based on those texts actually. So we only try to understand something that is so how we say it, so abstract actually about the concept of equality, and we try to reflect it to our beliefs, to our text, and then we try to interpret it in the way how we can legitimate what we are thinking about the concept itself. How about that, Bu Kurniawati, Dr. Kurniawati?
Oh, actually, this is rather very difficult question because I didn't come from religious studies.
Probably the most difficult question to answer.
But actually, my what do you call my understanding about Islamic perspective, Pak, maybe Pak Andi know better than me. There is two streams, right, in Indonesian Islamic perspective. Those who believe the textual interpretation of the text or textual interpretation, and the other one is who believe with contextual interpretation of the text. So according to my understanding, some what you call woman activists and gender equality activists, which is began in Indonesia around 1995. For example, Ibu Wardah Hafiz and another feminist Muslim in Indonesia, which is inspired by what you call Asghar Ali Einer, and then Nawa El Sadawi, something like that. And then there is a journal called Ulumul Quran in Indonesia at the time around 1995, something like that. So basically, this interpretation of Indonesian or interpretation of Islamic text by using contextual approach, which is what we call belief on the way we seeing the text based on the contextual understanding at the time, is a part of this feminist Muslim movement, not only in Indonesia but also around the world. So like according to my understanding, feminist Muslim also use this contextual approach to giving new interpretation about how, for example, viewing woman leadership in Islam, and then how we should in Islam perceiving gender equality, something like that, including, for example, I'm not a religious scholar, for example, in verse who perhaps beating a woman, something like that, should see the context of this verse, something like that. So according to my understanding, the contextual approach is usually and mainly used by women activists, Muslim activists who advocate gender equality in Islam, beginning around 1995 until now. But also various stream among the Indonesian Muslim feminists itself at the moment. So, but I do not want to go into the detail of this discussion. Maybe another webinar talking about.
Totally.
We need another session.
Totally different session.
Interesting textual and contextual approach in Indonesian Islam.
But that's interesting. Very interesting.
Okay, we have one commentary from Bu Susi Aisyah Nataliwati. Maybe Bu Susi want to join the discussion live, or maybe should I read the commentary?
Yes. Please
okay,
read.
Bu Susi, please. Oh, only reading. Okay. So according to Bu Susi, the equality concept itself maybe is an utopian concept. It will never reach the 0 point of balance. Well, actually, it's how we say that. Somehow, I think the same way.
Okay. No, I guess the most important thing to remember: equality is not a state, but a process.
Yeah.
You see, so no country can say, "Oh, we have achieved gender equality and it's done." No one can say that. Because gender equality is a process that has to be done every moment, every minute, every day. So you have to maintain some level of gender equality. Nobody can be self-satisfactory, complacent, puas diri gitu. Udah gender equality udah tercapai. No one can say that. So it's a daily, moment-to-moment struggle, I guess, especially for men. I guess to really understand. As an anthropologist, I can tell you with 100% confidence, in every society, the most insensitive group is the majority. The majority group anywhere, in Japan, in America, in South Africa, majority always has to make an effort to understand how the minority feels. So in this case, male and female, men and women, man has to make extra effort. Because more or by and large, this world has been ruled by whom? By men. Surprise.
Pak Bahtiar, then it's a one tricky statement actually, or question we can say.
Yeah, go ahead.
Then how we say about the, for example, when the World Bank release about the gender equality index, for example.
Yeah, sure.
So those index actually is based on the, how we say it?
It's a snapshot, Pandi. It's a snapshot. You have to understand it as a snapshot. It's not a score, permanent score. Like it's not your academic transcript. Oh, you got A, you got C, and that's it. That's my.
It's not the value itself.
Exactly. That's keep changing, ever changing snapshot of gender equality balance. That is the meaning of the index. So at that one particular year, okay, you got like 95, number 95. Indonesia is higher than Japan, right? In terms of gender equality. Indonesia is 90 something, Japan is 160, 40. Tadi Ibu Kusmati juga bilang tuh rankingnya kan. Yeah. But in many ways, Japan has better mechanism to cope with gender equality. That cannot be denied either. So just a snapshot, just one snapshot. That's my humble opinion.
Okay, so maybe another question. Okay, Pak Koco. Okay, our last question.
Devi.
Okay.
About Hinduism. I know that you always following the Hindu regulation in the one hand, but the other hand, the impact of the Hinduism is woman level is under the man. Are you feeling happy about that?
You mean women's status are lower than man in Hinduism?
Because the normative regulation for Hinduism is okay.
So
regulate.
This is because
but the other hand, I don't sure, but I'm not sure that every woman in Bali is happy about the tangkai.
Yeah. Stratification. Yeah. Okay.
That's why in my paper, the title of the topic of my paper is Women at the Crossroads Between Religion and Tradition.
Right.
Balinese women, they are Hindus. Religion, they are Hindus, yet they have to obey the customary law.
Yeah.
In Hindu religion, the status of women are quite well, like equal to men. But according to customary law, that is another problem.
Right.
So in customary law, as I mentioned in my paper, the position or the status of women is women are regarded as second gender.
A citizen, second gender.
In the Balinese customary law, it is quite contradictory to the Hindu, to the Vedas.
Yeah.
My suggestion is for the policymakers.
Yeah.
Try to harmonize them, harmonize between the religion and customs.
Yeah.
Of course, Balinese women maybe differs. Some of them are happy, some of them are not happy. For them who are happy, maybe they can adapt very well. Like they regard themselves as a servant, as a yajna. You know, in Bali, we everything we
Yajna. Yes.
Yeah, I know.
we
Very well.
doing sacrifice.
But,
So sacrificing our status is also yajna. Like we are capable, but we what to say, merendahkan diri.
Yeah.
and
Some of them
you're
are
thinking about the first believe it first, trust it first, and then after that the logical thinking. It's not logical, and then because if the man feels that logical and then feeling or
that's
trust.
you mean different between men and women?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, makes
No,
sense.
no. Just only differences about the belief and logic.
Belief and logic. Yes, of course.
Because you said that the other woman is also not happy or not happy.
Yeah, because
the law.
about feeling.
Yeah.
You see, one very horrific image of Hindu society in the past. It is called a custom called sati.
Yes.
English. You know that, yeah. Masatiya, dalam bahasa Bali itu, yeah. Sati is widow burning. So when a king dies, he left a number of widows, and when his coffin is burned, cremated, the living wives had to jump into the flame, the fire, and that was witnessed last time in late 19th century by a European guy who made a very detailed note of what's happening, what's going on. And it was quoted by Clifford Geertz, anthropologists, and so forth. But you see, that was a thing of the past. And one more thing, probably, intersectionality. Have you ever heard of that concept? So gender equality also intersect with social classes. Rich woman, poor woman. Educated woman, non-educated woman. Educated man, non-educated man. In America, racial discrimination always takes place in different ways depending on their classes, their education, their locality. This is a concept called intersectionality. So you cannot single out. Okay, I just want to talk about gender equality. Gender equality closely related to economic stratification, educational differences, and you have to discuss each one of them in order to get the whole picture of how men and women relate in one society. So, for instance, the example of sati, that only happened among kshatriya, the higher caste, the warrior caste. That is the only place where that kind of custom took place. That is also the case with Japan. Japanese women, they have similar caste system, samurai and peasants, for instance. Samurai is the highest, peasants second. And turns out, according to historical record, Japanese women among the peasants class, they were much more stronger than samurai women. Samurai women, like in Bali, they had to commit suicide when their husband defeated in war. Then the women must follow suit. Whereas peasants in Japan during Edo period, they are the ones who give you talak tiga. It's called mikudari han in Japanese. They're so powerful. Okay, I don't like you. You keep drinking sake every day. I'm gonna divorce you. And this is the letter called mikudari han. They are so powerful, but they are peasants, farmers, not samurai. Among the samurai class, it is the man who rules. Among the peasants, women are very, very powerful. That's the case from Japan. So so I guess that's how we have to see, we have to observe and research gender equality in every society. You have to differentiate classes.
Yeah.
Itu
That's
aja,
very
Pak.
nice. Okay, very nice discussion. And
Yeah,
I
thank
hope,
you.
and we hope this
I agree.
discussion and also the presentation give us a new perspective about how to see the gender problem in any cases of the society. So I think the time is up, and I will return the session to moderator to the master ceremony. And thank you for all the speakers, Bu Kurniati,
Thank
Pak
you.
Bahtiar, and Bu
Pak
Dewi.
Andi, Bu Kurniawati,
Terima kasih.
Bu Dewi, ya,
And
Pak Sukoco,
Pak
terima kasih
Bahtiar,
semuanya.
Bu Dewi,
Terima
Please
kasih.
applause for all the
Yeah.
speakers. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, thank you very much.
Okay, and I will return the session to Bu Nora. Bu Nora.
Yeah, yes, thank you very much indeed, Pak Andi Bangkit. Appreciate it. Okay, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we have just come to an end of day one program. I would like to extend my gratitude to all these prominent scholars, Associate Professor Bahtiar Alam PhD, Dr. Kurniawati Hastuti Dewi MA, Dewi Kusumastuti MA, and Andi Bangkit Setiawan PhD. And I would like to ask, before I'm saying closing, to have a pictures together. Pak Handoko, please.
Oke, silakan dibuka videonya untuk kita ambil foto bersama.
Kindly switch on your unmute, please. Dihitung dong.
Yang lain belum membuka video, silakan buka videonya.
Bapak Ibu tolong di unmute. Tolong videonya dibuka. Kalau mau say hello, mau apa.
Oke, siap. Masih banyak yang belum dibuka.
Bapak Ibu, kinenshin onegaishimasu. Kinenshin onegaishimasu.
Ya?
Oke, sudah ya.
Ya.
1, 2, 3. Lagi 1, 2, 3. Satu kali lagi 1, 2, 3. Oke.
Oke, terima kasih Mbak Dewi.
Terima kasih semuanya.
Yeah, okay. So I would like to say once again, thank you very much indeed for attending this day one program, and looking forward to seeing you tomorrow at exactly the same time, 8 o'clock. Minasan,
Arigatou gozaimashita.
Terima kasih.
Terima kasih.